Pam Bondi has announced charges against New York State and Letitia James and their governor over their protection and prioritization of illegal immigrants, saying it is a new DOJ. Now, they're calling it charges, but then they're also saying it's a lawsuit in the press. So I don't know how serious this will be. It doesn't sound like actual criminal charges, but nonetheless, moves are being made. So we'll jump into that one. It's a big story. Then, of course, we have the judge that blocked Trump's freeze on those buyouts. He's backtracking, saying, you know what? Any of these employees who are aggrieved, you can just file a grievance, and he's backing away from it. And then, probably my favorite story of the day, Google searches in the D.C. area for criminal lawyers is 3 times the national average and the highest in the country. So how about that? And then we do have another funny story. Politico now admitting that Democrats had been lying about the economy the whole time. And get this, unemployment is effectively 24%. And you know why they're saying it? Because you're getting these Democrats coming out going, what's going on, Trump? Why is the economy so bad? I thought you were going to fix it. And it's like, yo, it's been 3 weeks. Like, it's been 3 weeks. This is your economy. This is what Biden was doing before. They say everything's fine. The economy is great. Now that Trump is president, they come out and say, actually, unemployment's really 24%. What's going on, Trump? Yeah. So we're going to get into all that stuff. Before we do, my friends, head over to castbrew.com. Buy Cast Brew coffee. It's delicious coffee. Everybody agrees. Ian's graphene dream. I shouldn't even mention it. I should stop promoting it. We sell too much. Ian, you're selling too much coffee.
What are you going to do, man?
It's too much.
Unstoppable force.
Unstoppable force, indeed. But we do have others. Stand Your Grounds is a delicious medium roast. Come on. You guys should try Stand Your Grounds over at castbrew.com.
But you should really get Graphene Dream. It's low acidity.
It is. And I think that's why people are buying it. A lot of people say they work out the exercise. They don't want to get their stomachs upset, and they instantly go for it. So that's very cool, I guess. Ian sells a lot of coffee.
It's available in whole bean.
Like it's noticeably less offensive, I guess. It's nice. It's very nice.
How about that? Then, of course, my friends, if you go to rumble.com/Timcast IRL, you can check out the Green Room playlist. We're going to have another episode up with our guest. Basically, what we do is we hang out before the show as we're getting ready for pre-production. You can watch the behind-the-scenes conversations. It's a lot of fun. Sometimes they're silly. Today, we were tech decking and playing Magic the Gathering, which we tend to do, and having conversation about a variety of issues around, we'll say a variety of issues, uncensored, right? We also are going to have the uncensored call-in show for our Rumble Premium friends. So check out, you know what, this might work. If you go to timcastpremium.com, it will send you right to Rumble sign up, where you can sign up to become a premium member at Rumble using promo code TIM10, TIM10, and you will get $10 off an annual membership where you can watch all of our premium members only content. However, if you want to call into the show, which is exclusive on Rumble Premium, join our Discord server at timcast.com. Be a part of the community. Don't forget to smash that like button, of course. Share the show with everyone you know. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Debra Lea.
Hey, I'm excited to be back on. It's been a minute since we were streaming in Nashville, and I learned a little bit of tech decking already, so
that's great.
Excited to be back. We got some good topics.
Who are you? What do you do?
Hi, I'm Debra, in case you guys didn't know. We've all streamed together before. I'm from New York. Most notably, I do a lot of media hits, political commentary on the news, and specifically a lot within the conservative space, the Israel space, just all good things around.
Well, right on. Thanks for hanging out. We got Ian hanging out.
Hi, everybody. Ian Crossland. And I know the economy is getting better because on January 20th, the day Trump was inaugurated, my credit went up by 84 points. I still haven't dug into why, but I think that they did something where they're like, we just want people to take out loans. We want to generate this economy. But my credit was like up 5 points, down 5 points. January 20th, it went up by 84. So I don't know what's going on, but I get a great loan now, apparently.
Thank you, President Trump.
Thank you, President Trump, for increasing my credit score, if that's what you did. I don't know what the hell's going on. Hi, Phil.
My name's Phil Labonte. I'm the lead singer of the heavy metal band All That Remains. I'm an anti-communist and counter-revolutionary. Please, let's go.
Here's a story from Newsweek. Ladies and gentlemen, Pam Bondi announces charges against New York over immigration. You're next. Let me just play the video for you guys. We got it right here. We got it in full. It's only 30 seconds long. Take a listen.
We're here today because we have filed charges against the state of New York. We have filed charges against Kathy Hochul. We have filed charges against Letitia James and Mark Schroeder, who is with DMV. This is a new DOJ, and we are taking steps to protect Americans, American citizens, and angel moms, like the mom standing right behind me, who you're going to hear from in a moment. New York has chosen to prioritize illegal aliens over American citizens. It stops today. We're here to...
Well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Now, Newsweek says this. They announced charges against Kathy Hochul, Letitia James, both Democrats, for allegedly failing to enforce federal immigration laws. Bondi said the lawsuit was also filed against Mark Schroeder, the head of the DMV. President Trump was elected off the back of a campaign focused on illegal immigration, etc. They say last week the U.S. government filed a lawsuit against the state of Illinois, the city of Chicago, and Cook County in federal court, saying that their sanctuary city laws obstruct Trump's immigration enforcement policies. Bondi's announcement that New York was next focused on state-level leadership, rather than New York City specifically, despite the metropolitan area taking most new arrivals during the so-called border crisis. So I'm curious what the suit is actually going to mean. They say Bondi's argument against New York and the DMV, which allows illegal immigrants without legal status to obtain driver's license. They say it does not include their immigration status on the document and offers protections for immigrants from discrimination, blah, blah, blah. Yet they're still offering services that are supposed to go to American people to non-citizens. It's just a lawsuit. I guess the remedy would be to make them stop. I would like to see actual criminal charges where they perp walk these people, but perhaps we're not there yet. I don't know if we'll ever be. What do you guys think?
As a New Yorker, I'm very happy about this. Kathy Hochul has been the worst thing to happen to the city. I'm born and raised there. It has never been more unsafe. All the hotels are filled with migrants while there are still veterans on the side of the road. I pay taxes in New York. It is so offensive that my money is going to be used to house, as they say, migrants, people who illegally came into this country, over people who fought and served this country. But specifically the hotels that they've been putting them up in, it was originally for the homeless folks in lockdowns. The government was paying these hotels to house all these homeless people. They're like, it's not safe for them on the streets. And then the hotels realize it's more profitable for them to just charge the federal government for housing, for food and everything. And so then they started taking in all the illegal immigrants. And I don't know if it's related to this lawsuit, but Kristi Noem already recouped, I believe it was $49 or $59 million from FEMA that was supposed to be used for New York for illegal immigrants. They took it back. They said it's not being used properly. So I'm glad that something will change, because the city has never felt so unsafe. You've seen last year, families would pop up on every single corner. Whole new families, brand new Jordans, gold watches, gold rings, holding signs saying, I need money for my family. And it's just offensive when we're all working so hard to live well in New York. Get a job, come here legally, or else.
This Kathy Hochul thing is weird. She didn't get, correct me if I'm wrong, nobody voted for her.
The first time.
Yeah.
She didn't get
voted.
She got appointed in the first time after, was it Cuomo stepped down, and then they just, is that normal for them just to put somebody, whoever they want in?
She was lieutenant governor.
Okay.
And so when he steps down, she steps up, and then when the election happened, she won.
Yeah.
But I got to be honest, I don't think any of these people actually won elections. Like the idea that someone like Nancy Pelosi won an election, like, yeah, sorry, nice try. Nancy Pelosi's own words. She held up a glass of water and said, this glass of water would win in my or AOC's district if you put a D on it. That's right. The people in these places, they're not thinking at all. They're not thinking. You know, Allison was asking me earlier, she was like, why is anybody mad about what Elon is doing with the DOJ stuff?
A lot of it's because they don't know what he's doing, and they're confused, and they're being led around by.
Well, that's what I said. I said, no one's mad about it. And she goes, yeah, I see people who are mad. I'm like, no. The people who know what Elon is doing are happy about it. Mm-hmm. And she was like, right, because I am. I'm excited. It's like, oh, he's cutting out all this garbage. The people who don't like Elon, who are standing in that, there's that viral video we have on Timcast News where they're singing, which side are you on? Those people have no idea what's going on. All they know is, Emerald Man bad or whatever. I don't know. Tesla Man bad. There you go. Mars Man bad.
Congress had a Marjorie Taylor Greene led, like, I guess you would call it, where they pulled in a bunch of DOJ employees or something, and they grilled them for 2 hours. And even Jasmine Crockett, who's, can be vocally a little aggressive sometimes about things, was like, by the end of the talk, was like, thank you for doing this legit. We do want to get waste out of government. So I think it's hard to really be angry with what DOJ is doing if you understand what DOJ is doing. They're not making the final decisions. They're just displaying information for people.
The people that are most vocal about being upset with DOJ, those people are committed Democrats and their ideologues, right? They're not mad because they have a substantive disagreement with getting rid of waste. Because if it was Democrats that were actually trying to get rid of waste, or Democrats, say, going after, just for an example, going after the Pentagon, right? That's something the Democrats generally are comfortable with saying. We got to cut the military. We want to have fewer wars, blah, blah, blah. If they were making these cuts to the military, I'd be perfectly fine with it. It's the Democrats say that this is a problem, and the people that are Democrat operatives and ideologically captured, those people fall in line. But it's not that the average person thinks this is a bad thing. The average person is extremely aware that there is tons of waste, tons of abuse, tons of people that are many people that are living on, exorbitant salaries, that are using things like USAID to fund all sorts of BS projects to siphon money to their own personal bank accounts. I know that today I read something where Musk was going to start looking into Congress people that make like $200,000 a year, that when they start in Congress, they're worth, $1 million or whatever. And then in a few years, they're worth 20 or 30 million. Specifically, Elizabeth Warren was mentioned, but I think that that's a great thing. I love the idea.
He's talking about all bureaucrats.
Yeah, 100%.
It's like, because what came up was, I think it was the one who was like in charge at USAID. I think they were like, hey, she got paid $200,000 a year and she's worth like $100 million. I don't know the exact numbers, but they were like, this administrative clerk is worth how much? 9, 10 figures off of what? Something doesn't add up. Now, the Congress thing, we actually can easily track. That's easy. You take a look at a member of Congress and you track their stock portfolio and you're like, hey, that's really weird that member of Congress on like, I don't know, the Senate Intelligence Committee or whatever, just made a big investment in that Intel security company based in, insert country. And then a week later, they announce the U.S. has secured this company has secured a contract with the United States. And it's insider trading to the most extreme degree. Let me put it this way without getting too personal. If you are an individual and you are working on a contract deal, let's say a football player or something, I don't know. No, how about this? Pfizer. If you are about to get hired, let's say you're a big celebrity and they say, we want you to endorse the brand. If you run out the door and go buy a ton of their stock and then agree to it, you're going to get in trouble. Insider trading. You knew in advance that something big was going to happen, that you were privy to access, insider access, and it's insider trading. When Congress does it, it's fine. Nobody cares. They know for a fact that they're either passing laws or making fake laws. I'll tell you how members of Congress make money. They actually will introduce a fake bill to shock the price of a company, buy it up, and then the bill fails. It gets better. They'll buy shorts. They'll short a stock, introduce a bill or sponsor a bill, or they know the bill is coming. When the bill is announced, let's say there's a company called Big Pharma, right? Someone they'll put shorts on that stock because they know a bill is about to be introduced called the Ban Big Pharma Act. It comes out, people panic, they sell, they defeat the bill, they drop their short position, they make their profit, then the bill fails and the stock bounces back up.
There was a meme,
usually they're just buying though.
Nancy Pelosi, where there was a meme of her on the phone. It's like, sell DI, buy Doge right now, because she's made her whole career with that. But we've had a lot of this government waste, abuse, and fraud in New York with the immigration problem since before Doge came around or Elon Musk or anything. Mayor Adams, who I'm more fond of than other Democrat leaders, but he gave a no-bid contract to .go. I believe it was either $492 or $497 million to house, feed, and completely take care of illegal immigrants in New York. A report that came back like 2 months ago, maybe less, said that basically 90% of that money was wasted. They charged $120,000 in sales tax for foods when they were exempt from sales tax because they were operating on the federal government's behalf. Like, this has been going on for so long in New York, and with the amount that I pay in taxes to see how gross the city is, where's my money going?
That kind of stuff I have a significant problem, a significantly larger problem with than insider trading. That should be illegal. There should be something done about insider trading. But really, the insider trading doesn't hurt the American people, right? It's bad, it's dishonest, it's corrupt, but it doesn't take away from the people that pay taxes. It doesn't take from the government. The government doesn't print money to give to the people that are investing in these companies and stuff. Insider trading is just, you get inside information about a stock, about legislation that's going to pass, and you capitalize on it. Sure, it's corruption, it's bad. But when the problem that I have is things like we've found out with USAID, where they're funding something, they're paying money to some silly thing, and that money somehow ends up in some bureaucrat's pocket or goes back to some industry insider or whatever. And they're literally just printing the money to give away to private interests. It's the worst kind of corruption because they're just printing the money to give back to people that they like.
I got to talk about these sanctuary cities for a second. Get your guys' opinion on, because normally I'm of the opinion of like states' rights. Feds, don't tread on me, back off, get out of my state, let me govern how I want to govern in my state. If California wants to legalize marijuana, I don't want the DEA kicking the door down because of some stupid federal law. Let the different states have their different laws.
No.
But sometimes maybe, the thing is, I agree with removing the illegal immigrants, as rough as it can be. I think it's a good move. But I still value states' rights. Why are you shaking your head, Phil?
Because constitutionally, the Constitution gives the power to the federal government to take care of immigration. States don't have that authority. So I understand your point about states' rights in the 10th Amendment, but there's a specific enumerated power granted to the federal government in the Constitution.
In fact, when Texas was dealing with the illegal immigration, and they came out and said, we aren't allowed to enforce the border or deport because of the Constitution.
Perfect example.
That's why Texas said, then we're going to send them to the Democrat states, see how they like it. Yep. Meanwhile, California then says to the federal government, we're actually not going to let you even enforce immigration. Yeah. And therein lies the problem.
So I'm
Lone Star in Texas, where they've been spending millions of dollars, independent organizations. I had the privilege of touring the border earlier this year. They're spending millions of dollars on their own to catch, detain, and deport the illegal immigrants that are coming into Texas. And I asked them, the sheriff, I was like, are you going to get that money back? And they're working now to try and sue the federal government to get reimbursed because the federal government's failing to protect their citizens on the border.
On principle, I agree with you. And I like when it comes to the 10th Amendment and when it comes to states' rights, I do agree with you. But when it comes to certain specific things that are enumerated in the Constitution and that are specifically reserved to the federal government, those things should be it's correct for the federal government to have precedent, to have a primacy over that. It's just there's what they call the supremacy clause. Things that are in the Constitution that are given to the federal government take supremacy over any federal thing. So anything in the Bill of Rights, those are supposed to supersede any state legislation because they're in the Bill of Rights and they're in the Constitution. And
then, of course, you have the 9th and 10th Amendments, which specifically state that if it's not given to the federal government, then the states can deal with it. So there is an argument over how the supremacy clause will play out with things like you mentioned, marijuana in California, and largely the states just do what they want. Mm-hmm. But immigration is specifically the federal government.
Yeah, because there's no, just like Tim said, there's no law in this Constitution that gives the federal government the right to regulate marijuana.
What about like alcohol and firearms? ATF, for instance.
So the ATF is unconstitutional on its face. And when it comes to alcohol, we already tried. We had an amendment that gave the federal government the power to prohibit, this is prohibition, prohibit the production and sale of alcohol. And it was such a terrible idea and such a disaster, we made another amendment to repeal that law. And that was kind of the last time they changed the Constitution in order to grant the federal government a power to do something because it's so hard. So now they do things like they abuse the Commerce Clause and abuse the necessary and proper clauses, which the Commerce Clause says that the federal government has the authority to regulate the commerce between the several states, and the necessary and proper clause says that the federal government has the power to pass all laws necessary and proper to execute said.
So let's jump to this next story from the New York Sun. Google searches for criminal defense lawyers surge. I like how they put at Washington, D.C. It seems a strange way to write the words. With Trump in the White House, search results for defense attorneys are roughly 5 times higher. I thought it was 3. 5 times higher in America's capital than anywhere else in the country. So the story, okay, well, we don't have it pulled up, but they basically reference this dude, Mark from Rasmussen, who checked the search and found that Washington, D.C., as of this past month, has spiked to the highest in the nation in terms of search for criminal defense attorneys, and that it's the next highest is Utah for whatever reason, but it's between 3 to 5 times higher in D.C. I'm going to go ahead and make a guess that this may have to do with people filing fraudulent invoices to USAID and the Treasury Department, knowing it was going to get cashed out, and them thinking no one was ever going to look or notice. And now the reason they're searching, this is all, I'm just speculating, the reason why they're searching for attorneys is because they're calling them on the phone and saying, I've been invoicing the government for a year, and I haven't been doing anything. What's my criminal exposure here? The reason why I think this is largely people calling to ask whether or not they may have broken the law is that They've not filed charges against anybody over this stuff. But Trump has come out saying we have found fraud, and a lot of it. So I can only imagine that these people who are in Loudoun County, for instance, who have been invoicing the federal government for who knows what, because we've seen some of the stuff that's come out, they must be sweating bullets right now, concerned that Trump's not going to tolerate what they've been doing.
It's a very compassionate take on it. Honestly, I was thinking that these people are so narcissistic. They think the world's about them. The world's out to get them. They think Donald Trump gets into office day one, spends all day long looking up, who am I going to attack? Who am I going to charge? Who am I going to go after? When really, he's saving the world. He's saving the country. He's the most aggressive in the best way possible, like the most proactive president that we have ever had. We always say like the first 100 days of a presidency. I think Trump has dropped that down now to the first 30 days of a presidency to compare how much a president has done. And I think these people are just so paranoid. They think the world revolves around them. They're going to come after me. Nobody cares about you that much. We have found fraud. I think that is a very compassionate idea that they're trying to figure it out. But I really think that these people are just lawyering up because they think they're that important that Trump is going to take the time to individually go after them. Nobody cares about you that much.
But they might go after him.
I think he has bigger things. I think there was an interview. I don't want to like incorrectly quote Trump, but Trump they asked him like, are you going to go after your opponents? He's like,
These are not opponents though.
Yeah.
These are NGOs.
I guess people.
This is going to be like a 47-year-old guy who's got a mansion in McLean, and he's been invoicing the government for $10 million a year off his fake nonprofit. And he's like, I can't justify these expenses. What do I do? No one's supposed to be looking into it. They've just been paying me. I guarantee you there's a bunch of people who have been getting paid by the government who are like, I don't know, they just kept paying me.
I mean, all the buildings are empty, but I think just on the laundry list of people that are important, we have gang members in this country that have come in over the last few years with illegal immigration. We have a lot of criminals in New York specifically who haven't been arrested. I think that just on like the laundry list of who to go after, they're a bit lower.
Totally disagree.
Not in my view of what they should be, just in like what our government's going to go after. If we could go after all at once, I'd love that. But
it's the most the biggest threat to this country right now are the bureaucratic, deep state, NGO Democrat operatives who live in and around Washington, D.C., who stand to lose hundreds of millions or billions of dollars from what Trump is doing. The gang members hurt and kill people, and it's bad. We got to stop them. But the people in and around D.C. want those people to stay there and have the means and the resources to wage legal lawfare against Donald Trump and stop him from being able to do these things. So I think the reason they're Google searching this stuff is that Trump and the DOJ have to go after the most powerful administrative element. Trump wants to fire everybody. What happens? The Democrats file lawsuits, and then these activist judges block him. That's why they're going after USAID right now. Trump's biggest priority actually doesn't appear to be immigration. Certainly, it's a large priority. Certainly, he said he wants the number to go up. But he just pulled out the big guns on DOJ and sent them into Department of Education and to USAID, and they gutted USAID almost first thing. Immigration numbers, deportation numbers are currently low relative, and this is what Trump's saying, yet we've shut down entire departments. Trump knows the deep state bureaucrats will stop him if he doesn't stop them first.
Yeah, I mean, I do think that the administration should do what it can do to get, to go after people that have violated the law. I don't think that this shouldn't be something that's like, it shouldn't be controversial. If someone's broken the law or someone's, if they're abusing the system, there's no reason why the DOJ shouldn't go after.
There's I quote Mike Benz a lot because he's so prolific on this whole USAID, deep state, international corruptive internet censorship. Is like, why are we being censored? It led him through this maze. And he's like, what we're doing right now is we are performing open heart surgery on the American empire. And I don't want, it's very possible that the patient will die on the table, and we don't want that because empire has enabled us to have cheap gas, affordable housing, but it's really about creating transparency and doing it right in a lot of ways, doing the dirty work right. And that's, I think, so indiscriminately targeting and arresting everyone that's ever done any corruption might not be the best thing for the health of the country.
Why?
If you don't understand the organism that you're working on and you take it all away right away, it might kill something. You got to be careful with.
I mean, that's not really an answer, though.
The reconstruction of it.
But that's not really an answer. Why do you think that it's a bad idea to go after people that have violated the law?
Indiscriminately?
Well, I mean,
what does that mean?
The fact that you're
because I don't think that the law is always the best guide of morality in life. Sometimes things are made illegal when they're right.
Hold on. You're saying that the administrative state, that has been, I don't know, wrongly imprisoning people, torturing them, propping up criminals, maintaining a multi-generational fake puppet government, we should just ignore that.
No, a huge problem. But like Deborah mentioned, too,
so
we
how
don't have
about-
infinite resources, and we do need to be discriminate about how we approach. But I think you're right. If we don't, but if it's not like what JFK didn't subvert the opponent, and the opponent had him off, as far as we can tell. Ron Paul said the CIA killed Kennedy. I tend to believe him. I think Paulina Luna just mentioned there were 2 shooters.
I think Ian works for the CIA.
My whole life, dude.
Because
I am
whenever there's an
intelligence,
issue
bro.
of it's like, hey, we've just uncovered gross malfeasance, Ian goes, well, we should let him go. And we're like, what?
Well,
like, we should pardon Hillary Clinton.
One
It's
is
like,
I play subversion.
You did say pardon.
Of course.
You think we should pardon Hillary?
Blanket pardons, dude.
he does kind of look like
terrible
Chelsea,
idea.
doesn't he?
Yeah, let them all
Man.
let's just move forward as a union, man. Someone's got to say it out loud.
I got my eye on you, Ian.
It's a long game, but I do think that moving quickly is important. I don't know. I don't even hardly know what we're even talking about right now. Like, who are we talking about? What are we talking about? The
We're
Brookings
talking about
Institute, Mel
fake-
K.
We're talking about fake nonprofits, think tanks, and individuals who have been invoicing the federal government falsely, knowing they're not actually doing any work, and they're buying mansions from it. And now the presumption is they're panicking and calling up lawyers, being like, "Am I going to go to prison for this?" And Donald Trump has gutted USAID, and he said we're looking for fraud. Fraud is a felony. And what happens when they uncover large amounts of people who have been sending in invoices to the federal government despite not doing any work?
And sometimes
Elon Musk pointed out real quick that the Treasury Department was instructed to pay out all invoices without just do it. Just don't even bother questioning it. And the argument given that, or I should say the reason given was the government didn't want to create complaints. It's better to just pay it out because our resources are infinite, because we'll just raise the debt ceiling and keep cranking up debt. There's the United States government gets their money by either printing it or pointing guns at people. So for the administrator in an office who gets an invoice, they go, look, I do not want to deal with an angry email, my boss yelling at me, and no one's going to complain if I just pay it out. So that's what they were doing, rubber stamping this stuff. There was one story apparently where a single piece of paper requested $1 billion for no reason. And then someone at the Treasury Department was like, I'm not going to do this one. That's weird. But there were people who were apparently invoicing or charging and requesting and getting grants for tens of millions of dollars, despite doing literally nothing. In fact, Seamus has this really great cartoon, shout out to Freedom Tunes, where Elon is uncovering, in one instance, he's like, 1,000 crates of Smarties for Iraqi slumber parties? What is going on with this? You got to watch this cartoon.
The rhyme was the best.
The rhyming was the best. The point was, when we look at how the money was being spent, the truth is when they say $47,000 for a gender puppet play in Peru or whatever it was, that's not really where the money was going. It's going to be some NGO in the DC area where a guy says, we liaise with people in Peru to do gender puppet shows. Send me 50 grand. So now that Trump is looking for the fraud, they're going to start bringing a microscope to these people, and they're going to say, yeah, you invoiced us for consulting. You haven't shown up to the office in a year. And they're going to go, oh, well, no one said I shouldn't. And they're going to be like, fraud doesn't work that way.
I'm curious what you guys think. I think it's very interesting with Trump being Trump and second term now that he's prioritizing this, because out of all the things that he could do, like going after crime first, or I guess with the economy, this might have a long-term effect on the economy, cutting down fraudulent waste and spending. It might have a delayed boom. But I'm very interested what you guys think, why he's starting with this, because I feel like out of all the things, this is extremely important to get rid of fraudulent and people who are abusing the federal government, especially when we're giving like $600 to Maui victims and North Carolina victims. But it's not going to have a direct return to actual Americans. Like, that's great. We cut 20 million, but how am I going to feel that as a regular citizen?
Where does that 20 million go? It goes into
the federal budget.
No, it goes when $20 million goes to the Loudoun County NGOs, lobbyists, think tanks. That goes in the pockets of Democrats and neocons who are going to try to stop Donald Trump. It goes into the campaign coffers of politicians who are going to try to unseat Republicans who will defend Trump. It's going to go directly into the midterms where they prop up squishy Republicans who say, I guess we have to impeach Trump this time. Yeah. If Trump does not take action and cut the resources off to the administrative state, he will be impeached in 2 years.
This is a great point, but and further, like I would take it further. It's like not only is all the stuff that Tim was saying exactly true, but also like these are things that the American people hate.
Yeah.
It's easy, low-hanging fruit. So it actually does two things. It makes the American people feel good about DOJ and what they're doing, and the things that Donald Trump is doing, because Donald Trump promised to do this stuff. So he's fulfilling campaign promises. He's protecting himself and other Republicans when it comes to the midterms, and he's getting rid of waste, fraud, and abuse that almost every normal American agrees, yes, these are bad things. So you're right. It's not something, and I talk about this a lot, because it's not mandatory spending. It's not Social Security. It's not Medicare, Medicaid. It's not stuff that's going to really move the needle when it comes to the actual national debt.
Yeah.
But it can affect the deficit, and that's something that you can show to people. Look, the deficit's gone from $2 trillion down to $1 trillion, and that's one of the things that Musk has been saying from the on his when he goes he's like, if we can cut this in half and then grow the government, we can actually get rid of all the inflation. So if in 1 year there will be no price increases. It's like he was talking about. He's like, imagine going to the grocery store and all the prices are the same next year. If we just cut $1 trillion from the deficit, and we don't deficit spend by $2 trillion, we only deficit spend by $1 trillion, and we increase the economic, we slash regulations, which is in turn going to increase economic activity, which would increase the GDP.
3 to 5%. I think
we can get rid of the other $1 trillion in our deficit, and you have no deficit for a year. Actually balancing the budget. So it's multifaceted.
It's a delayed effect. I'm just being in New York and being in Gen Z and on TikTok and stuff. I'm always trying to be aware of the majority of us and the people that we're always surrounded by. We're dialed into politics. We care about it. It matters to us. So we know and we actually care about these things. But I'm always just thinking about, the average American who doesn't have time to ever watch Tim's show or, live stream on Rumble and after hours, members only. And they didn't pay me to say that. But, the majority of people don't know that much. And so I'm thinking of the people that I want to secure for 2026, because we know that is the most important thing. Now, Trump set on that, because if he doesn't get 2026, or if he loses control of the House and the Senate, he's done, essentially, in terms of being able to pass things. But the majority of people who are not dialed in, I was saying that it's interesting that he is so strongly working towards something so important, but that won't have a direct feel for the people that are not dialed into politics. Like, their prices aren't going to go down. It's not solving anything directly. Their taxes aren't going down. So I'm just conscious of that. It might in 2 years from now or something.
I wouldn't even say 2 years.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's like it does take some time. So maybe next year you'd see the results from some of these things. But again, if you can get rid of the deficit, then you'll get, and if Musk is right, you get rid of the deficit, you can get rid of the inflation. And that leads directly to, you're not going to see prices go down, but it pauses the increase of prices.
Yeah.
And it allows wages some time to catch up, because that's the way that it works. Like, inflation happens, everyone suffers, and then over time, wages catch up.
I guess he has also the opportunity. I agree with you, and he has the opportunity now because his approval rating is so high. I think he might know he'll have to bring more direct, favorable things if it ever dips down.
One of the challenges Trump has is that the average person doesn't understand deep politics, as we're discussing. When he was on the Joe Rogan show, he explicitly stated that, we either bring the prices down, which is very difficult, or, he mentioned being under-leveraged, which I'll simplify as, if the buying power of the dollar increases, then the cost of goods may not go down, but your ability to buy those goods goes up. And that's what really matters. So making prices go down is difficult. You do that by generating energy and making energy more abundant. When energy costs are cheaper, competition will drive prices down. It's really simple. I'm going to arm you guys with this information. I know most of you already know it, but for some of you who don't, the Democrats keep running on this. You can't drop prices. You can't make prices go down. If fuel costs go down, if they are able to produce natural gas, fuel, whatever, frack for a cheaper price, because labor is cheaper, whatever, if they can deregulate it, what's going to happen is you're going to have market competition. These energy companies are going to say, buy from me, we'll sell it, $80 a barrel. I'll sell it $75 a barrel. Price goes down. Then the shipments are cheaper. When it's cheaper to ship and their margins are healthy, you get two egg producers and one says, hey, buy my eggs for $10. The other guy says, I can reduce my costs because our transportation has gone down. Buy mine for $9. The competition will reduce the prices. That's what we're hoping for. Unless, of course, there's price fixing, which is a crime. Now, Democrats keep lying, saying it's not going to happen. It's not possible. And my favorite thing is it's been 3 weeks and they're going, hey, Trump, how come you haven't lowered all the prices yet? And it's like, well, he's currently gutting waste, fraud, and abuse. And it's been 3 weeks. We're going to have to work on it. Come on, it's not going to be overnight. I will say this of Trump. He did say, as soon as I'm elected, we're going to see the prices go down. But anybody who actually knows Trump and has known Trump for a decade knows that you got to take him seriously, but not literally. When Trump said, day one, and since I'm elected, the war is over, I was like, maybe, but eventually we're like, well, he's going to have some work cut out for him because of the way Democrats have set this up. When he says day one, you're going to see the prices drop. We're like, yeah, we get it, Trump. He's a big talker, but we think he'll probably work on it and he'll do a good job of it.
Now they're blaming him for the eggs. Chuck Schumer's like, Mr. Trump, why are the eggs so expensive? What did you do? And we're like, that was your guy who killed all the birds. Like, hello? Yeah. But yeah.
That was I do believe the plan at the end of the Biden administration was to nuke as much as possible so they could blame Trump for it.
Oh, for sure.
Go back and watch our episodes of Timcast IRL where we literally said this. They were sabotaging things so that as soon as Trump got in, they'd say, aha, Trump did it.
Yeah, and anyone that thinks that is somehow that they would never do that. They would never harm the country like that. Just go back and look at the debates between Trump and Biden when Biden said we should surge the border. There should be a surge at the border. He literally told people to come to the country illegally and just come to the border. That is a massive problem for the country. So the Biden administration and Democrats more broadly have zero care about the American people. They don't care about the American people. That's why they wanted illegal immigrants to come into the United States, and we're using the Health and Human Services Department and the Refugee Resettlement Program to ferry those illegal immigrants about throughout the country, particularly to red states, to try to turn them purple or turn purple states closer to blue, because they were looking to get themselves a consistent and permanent position of power in the government, so that way there was no Republican Party that could actually challenge them. I mean, it's nefarious. And it's disgusting. And now that we see now that we see DOJ and the things that DOJ has uncovered, it becomes more clear that was not just it wasn't just by happenstance that was happening. That was an actual plan.
Let's jump to this next story from the Daily Wire. Senate confirms Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. Woo! This was absolutely fantastic. Mitch McConnell was furious. And he betrayed MAGA and said he voted against her, despite the fact he voted for Garland and Lloyd Austin.
Unreal.
It's like, yeah, come on, man. This dude, look, they don't like Tulsi Gabbard because she represents a lot of what we've wanted for a long time, sound foreign policy. She's now going to be overseeing all 18 intelligence agencies, including the CIA. And based on everything they said about her, how they lied about her, how they went after her for refusing to toe the line behind the Democratic establishment, this is beautiful. But the big story here is not necessarily just to sit here and talk about how happy we are about Tulsi Gabbard. It's to point out that Democrats are scumbags. Look, I'm an opinion guy, right? I'm not a big fan of the Republican Party for the most part. We can rag on Mitch McConnell all day. But Donald Trump took it over, and you've got MAGA within the Republican Party, and we kind of like what they're doing. But the Democrats prove themselves time and time again to be, what's the right word? Disloyal is
annoying.
One word. Well, annoying is easy, but lacking honor. Lacking honor. They have no honor. They care not for it. Bernie Sanders refuses to vote for Tulsi Gabbard after praising her endorsement of him for president. Bernie represents the Democratic Party perfectly. He initially was a man of principle. You'd see him walking around D.C. He didn't make that much money. He's getting $150,000 a year at the time in Congress. And I remember being in D.C. 14 years ago with my buddies, and we saw him walking down the street, and we were like, it's Bernie Sanders. And everybody knew the guy. He had been no mittens. It was warm out. He had been consistent on his policy positions. And then something happened. He had this gym room announcement of president with this crappy little banner, I'm going to run for president. And he got a lot of support from progressive young people. And the deep state was none too happy that he was destabilizing the Democratic Party's position. And so he decided he would bend the knee. And what happened? I'm just going to say, perhaps it's interesting that Bernie bends the knee to the deep state, to the establishment Democrats, and then becomes a millionaire right away. Right away. I sold a book. If you sold a book, you could be rich too and own 3 houses. So Bernie Sanders represents exactly what the Democratic Party is. For a while, they seem to be of principle, these young activists. The moment you offer them a paycheck, they will turn on a dime. I'd be willing to bet You go to any one of these lefty Antifa types and you offer them a 6-figure salary, they'll put on a suit in 2 seconds. They will say, tell me where to stand. If the DNC, if David Hogg walks up to any random Antifa guy and says, you could do a lot of good with the Democratic Party and we can bring your ideas in, how would you like to make a difference? We'll give you $700,000 a year. They'd be like, tell me where to stand and tell me what to say. 2 seconds.
Bernie, he was like, how old is he now? 80 something? He was 80, I think, when he was running for president, 70 something. And
Maybe he was 70 something.
So like people, you would think that late in life, like you just don't flip when it's brought. You're like, look, I could have flipped to the other side 20 years ago. I've chosen to live my life righteously, but like either they scared him with Donald Trump and just constantly whispering in his ear like worm tongue, and his body's too old, his brain's too old to resist it, and he was changed because of fear, or somebody came in and they threatened him in a way that we'll never know. That
it's that simple, bro. Ian, when they come to you and they say, look, you're generating a lot of positive attention, you're building this beautiful campaign, but we are working really hard to defeat Donald Trump, and you are actually helping this bad man. So we'll tell you what, for your troubles, we're going to help you publish your book. We're going to connect you with this great agency. You're going to make $1 million and buy that lake house for your wife. You've always wanted it, don't you? And then Bernie's like, well, I don't know. And then as they're saying, no. I mean, it's great that we can do this for you. And then they start putting on the gloves and say, of course, if there's something else that you're interested in doing, as they grab the garrote wire and start wrapping around their arms and say, we can always just maybe I can give you a back massage, or you can take the money. And Bernie's like, I'll take the money.
They might have, but I actually think it's more like they scared him with Trump. They're just like, he's the devil. And Bernie's like, oh, and they say it enough times and then he just believes it.
No way, because Bernie and Trump's policies overlap.
I know. You got to get Bernie and Trump in a room together and have an interview.
He knows? No.
That's like the nexus.
But Ian, let me say that. Bernie knows this.
Populism.
Bernie knew this. When in 2015, when the media was saying that Bernie and Trump overlapped, I can't believe it's 10 years now. You guys can believe how old were you?
16.
16. She had no idea what was going on.
Couldn't even vote.
Playing with Polly Pockets or whatever you kids are doing.
I voted for Trump twice. They're like fake Republican. I was like, I couldn't vote the first time. It's not my fault. I would have.
Bernie and Trump didn't have identical policies, but they were talking largely in their campaigns about illegal immigration hurting the working class and wanting to bring factories back to this country. And there were tons of people who were supporting Bernie. And when Bernie got knocked out by the DNC for a variety of reasons, I mean, they basically rigged the whole thing against him. They went to Trump. I've met them. I've interviewed them. The thing is, I described it as there's an ivory tower. Trump and Bernie walked up to there's 2 doors, front and back door. Bernie walked up and knocked and said, we're here. Let us in. And then they dumped, tar and feather out the window, and Bernie went, oh, and they all ran away. Trump ran full speed, slammed his way through the door, shattering it, ran up the stairs, knocking everything down while they all started screaming, and they're terrified of him. Bernie, he bent the knee. They came to him and said, we will destroy you. You're not coming in. And he says, I will do anything you say. He's Anakin bowing to Palpatine.
Him not endorsing Tulsi is so weird. I don't.
Why?
Or
because that aligns with everything he's ever talked about his whole career. Like, unveiling the deep state, like giving the power to the common man.
But he's never meant any of that stuff, and I don't understand why he's a communist, right? He's been lying about being a communist forever.
Well, Phil, the actual communists call him a nationalist capitalist.
Yes,
because Bernie's stated policy positions. So the World Socialist website in like 2015, 2016 wrote an article saying, do not support Bernie. He's a nationalist capitalist. He wants closed borders. He wants workers' rights only for American citizens. And he believes that workers should be able to get money and spend it as they choose from their jobs, but it should be more. They said Bernie is a capitalist. The only position he had was that he thought shares in a publicly traded company companies should be required to reserve 20% of their shares towards employee bonuses when they go up in value.
So maybe he's close to a Fabian socialist, which the Fabian Society is a socialist society that doesn't want an actual revolution. They want to vote capitalism away, vote socialism into existence.
I think Bernie has been Bernie,
He was way too. He was fond of the Soviet Union. He was way too. He went to the Soviet Union for his honeymoon, and he had glowing praise for him. So maybe he looks at the situation in the United States and says, "Well, this is what the context that we live in." But I think that when it comes to his moral compass and the things that he believes, I think that he believes that in socialism, he believes that it can happen.
I want you to envision it this way: deep within Donald Trump is an avatar of raw will. And just imagine this super oiled up, muscular guy going, "Rrr." That's Trump's willpower. Yep. Trump is a terrifying guy to go up against. And when the deep state tried, they lost.
Yes.
Inside of Bernie Sanders, I would describe his will as a 17-year-old who doesn't eat protein and has a B vitamin and thiamine deficiency, so they actually struggle to walk. And we're deeply concerned about them not eating a proper diet or lifting weights, so they're bedridden. Bernie Sanders is a terrified, callow individual, and Donald Trump is a boisterous ram smashing through the deep state.
Yeah, he's also an intensely proud capitalist and has been Donald Trump his entire life. Real estate magnate. Is that how you say the word?
Magnate. I love how he's like, Gaza is a real estate deal. And there's that viral video from the debates in 2015 where Marco Rubio's like, I think it might be 2016. He's like, Donald Trump, Gaza is not a real estate deal. It's not. And he's like, it is. And now Trump is once again still saying the same thing. We're going to treat it like a real estate deal. We're going to make everybody's lives better. I don't know that Trump, I do appreciate the out of the box thinking on this one. His idea is very simple, though maybe not possible. He's like, we take the Palestinians who are displaced, we move them out, we rebuild the whole thing like the Riviera with beautiful homes, and we bring them back in. Not all of them. And then we're going to make it this beautiful place, and it's just like, yeah, that's never going to happen, Trump.
You're not excited to stay at Mara Gaza? I'm very excited.
What's funny is, you know what Mar-a-Lago means, right?
No.
This beautiful sea?
No.
What does lago mean?
Come on, Serge, say it.
What language is this?
Mar-a-Lago, Spanish.
Spanish.
Come on.
Yeah, sea of something.
It means from the sea to the lagoon.
Oh.
Mar-a-Lago,
okay.
yes. So the two bodies of water that you have.
Free lagoons.
You have, in Palm Beach, it's like this strip, and then you have the ocean. Mm-hmm. And so Mar-a-Lago is...
From the lagoon to the sea.
From the lagoon. It's from the sea to the lagoon, Mar-a-Lago. And of course, we know that there is a similar phrase in this area of the Middle East.
Yeah.
Are
you looking at me to
river.
Say it? That is a hate crime, Tim.
You brought up Mara Gaza, and I was like, that's actually pretty funny because the contrast of Mar-a-Lago is beauty. I mean, we live in a simulation, don't we? You have from the ocean to the lagoon this beautiful property of opulence and American spirit and success and nobility. And then you have this phrase of the far left activists from the river to the sea, which represents destruction, war, conflict, and pain.
The simulation is real.
Murder,
the Super Bowl, the bald eagles destroyed the Native American themed team, the Chiefs. And it was just like pure American propaganda. Simulation theory. Dude, it's so
It was
real.
also the team Trump endorsed.
Keep looking for symbolism.
He endorsed which one?
The
I
Chiefs.
don't think so.
Oh.
Trump was there for the Chiefs. He's like, I am fully team Chiefs. And the Eagles haven't gotten, as far as I know, they have not gotten their invite to the White House yet.
Wow.
And they're like, well, maybe go if he invites us.
I got to say, Ian, it is a funny idea that the Chiefs were crushed by the Eagles.
And they're literally, it's a bald eagle on their helmet.
Right.
It's a type of bald eagle.
We live in a simulation. And not because of any of this, but because of quantum entanglement.
Dude, I wonder if we keep reliving this life. Like every time we're born again, it's constantly this one over and over and over and over. And there's always the history. There's always but it's always this.
No, the reason I'd say no is because if you take a look at static on a TV, it would probably be nigh infinite iterations of reality. I do think it's probably likely that time is circuitous of sorts, that it curves in on itself. That means that one theory is that as time goes forward, eventually it wraps all the way back around, but that doesn't mean it's a single loop. It is a multidimensional fabric, so every time it wraps back around on itself, it's in a different shape, twisted in a different way with different iterations of itself.
Well, that makes sense with like the statistic. Oh my gosh, I couldn't speak. The statistics of probability, that the way that the particles arrange in the universe, there's only so many ways that it can be arranged. It's like building a Lego set or something like that. So you can make different ways, but eventually in every whatever number universe or probability, it will be rearranged just like it is now, but like a little different. Like maybe you have Ian's hair and you wear a beanie in another realm.
You lucky.
I mean, that's the easiest way to describe it. In another version of reality. I was trying to make it
simple. You're talking quantum physics over here. I'm like, hey, people, this is a simple way to understand.
In another universe, there's literally no Earth. It's just nothing.
No Earth.
So it's more just like versions of this, but with different.
That's different variations.
Well, there's probabilistic multidimensional theory, which states that for every probabilistic outcome, a new reality branches off from it. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I believe that idea. Some people don't believe any. Some people think there's a singular, one true timeline, whatever, and time travel's not a thing, and whatever. Probably more faith-based individuals would probably think that. I don't know. We think we know a lot. Humans actually know very little, so who knows? We can make cell phones, but we can't map time, so. But the craziest thing, though, is I do recommend, if you are interested and you have the time, read as much about gravity as you can.
Yep.
Because it is mind-bending.
Oh, really?
People don't understand how mind-bending it is. So I'll give you a simplified version. Two bodies on a curved object moving in the exact same, moving forward, eventually will intersect. So that is, take a globe and put, two people at the same latitude and have them move south. Eventually, they will intersect. Depending on the distance between them, they may intersect at the South Pole, because south to you may be one way to another, but once you get to the bottom, south is one direction. Hence, they have that riddle where you say you're in a cabin where every window has southern exposure, and a bear approaches. What color is the bear? And it's supposed to be a riddle. I guess it's not really a good one. And then everyone goes, how am I supposed to know the color of the bear is? Because if the windows only have southern exposure, that means you're at the South Pole. Or it's I'm sorry, you're at the North Pole. Every window is pointing south. That means you are literally at the North Pole, and every direction is south. There's no east or west. So the bear is going to be white, right?
Other way around, brown. The polar bears are in the south. So if every window is pointing north, it'd be a white bear.
Polar bears are in the south?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yes. Yes. I'm gonna put $1 million on that final answer.
You are wrong.
Am I really?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're wrong about that one.
I feel like polar bears live in the North Pole. I feel like that's their whole thing.
Polar bears are north, not south.
Like that's
okay. Polar bears.
Anyway,
you're definitely
anyway, I digress. So one of the simple ways people.
Yeah, you're right. I was wrong with such confidence.
So we are going to get back into talking about like actual news in a second, but I do want to mention this because I was watching this really interesting video that described the easiest way to understand gravity is that we are moving forward on a curved dimensional axis that is time, and we don't perceive it as movement, we perceive it as time. But the reason there's gravity is because two objects on a curved space moving in a forward direction will eventually intersect. That's what gravity is.
That's so badass.
When I was in high school, I studied multidimensional probabilities of different dimensions, and we learned all of that. And it actually brought up the religious thing. It actually like proves in a way, it lines up. It's a time where science and religion line up, because for my language, in the Torah, when Jews got the original Torah, it says that they were at a higher dimension and that God read all 10 commandments at once, and that the Jewish people at that time, they weren't officially Jews. The people of Israel were very scared, and they all like passed out, and they're like, Moses, please read it to us. We are so terrified. You read it to us. And the punishment for that was God dropped them down a dimension. And that makes sense with the time. Like, how could you listen to 10 things read at once or even say 10 things at once? It doesn't make sense. But when you look at time, not on a linear path, when like from a higher dimension, it all happens at once.
Right. If from a higher dimension, time could appear as though you're looking down a road.
Yeah. If you can see a bunch of different options, they're all called spines. Like if I choose to wear a red dress or a blue dress, that's a whole different path in my life. And a higher dimension being like an angel or God, which is much higher, can see all of those at once. So that's where it comes like free will versus God's plan.
Imagine you're looking outside of the fourth dimension, which we would consider to be time, and they can see you, Ian, from your point of birth to your point of death, and they can choose to go to any point in your life and intervene and then see how that changes and then go to this point, then go back and change it again.
I think that's the fifth dimension. It's like an infinite wave of possible timelines.
They're called spines, like each individual thing, like your back, like a spine. And that's what I've always understood as free will, where God can see all the different paths in your life that you could take, but you can choose exactly which one you will take. So you don't have complete free will. You don't have a probability that God never thought of or could never foresee, but you can still choose within that. And it's just a cool way where science and religion actually prove each other and work together.
Let's jump to this next story. We have a tweet from our good friends over at Politico. You know we love Politico. And they wrote this. Analysis. How Democrats were tricked into believing the economy was strong, writes former U.S. Comptroller Eugene Ludwig. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Democrats were tricked. Why not Republicans? Let me just pause real quick and let's let that ruminate a little bit. Why is it that the people who supported Trump during the 2024 cycle knew the economy was bad? Why is it that Trump won the popular vote, indicating that the majority of the country voted Republican? And how were Democrats tricked? There is a conundrum here in this story. Now, the first thing I want to say is, just to get to the meat and potatoes here, Politico mentions, when you go all the way down, basically, if you actually take all the numbers, the real unemployment under Joe Biden was 23.7. People weren't making money, they didn't have jobs. But this does present us with a question. I understand that the average person would go to the grocery store and say, wow, everything's expensive and I can't buy anything. Thus, they were not tricked. And they said, I'm going to vote for Donald Trump. Well, the media kept saying that the economy was better than ever. So the question then becomes, how is it that Democrats avoided going to grocery stores, or at the very least, when they did, they were unfazed by the prices? The answer, of course, is simple. The Democratic Party is the party of the upper class and the wealthy, and they do not care about things like, can you afford food? And it's important to understand this because that means today, when they're saying, why aren't the prices going down, Trump? They don't care, and they never cared. That's how they were tricked. Because when Don Lemon asked a guy on the boardwalk in Atlantic City why he was voting for Trump, the guy says the economy. Don Lemon said, actually, the economy is good. And the guy laughed. Because the guy is like, bro, I went to the grocery store. Okay, I can't afford, butter was $7. And Don Lemon's like, I don't know how much butter costs. Mm-hmm. He didn't literally say that. I'm using a hypothetical, but you had that MSNBC moment where Mika Brzezinski said to Scarborough, butter $7, and he goes, wait, what? And she goes, yeah, it's $7. And he goes, what is it, covered in gold? Why, who's buying that? And it's like, Joe, it is $7. But you see, what Joe revealed in that moment was he doesn't go grocery shopping. He probably asks Consuela to do it for him. And then he complains that Trump is taking his indentured servants away because they're all racists.
He probably also doesn't eat butter, soy only, seed oils only.
Soy margarine.
Yeah, but this is the greatest gaslighting campaign in modern history, telling us for years, everything's great. Everybody's employed. The groceries are so affordable. Everybody has jobs. Everything's great. We're great. And we all said, I literally go to the grocery store. I make good money. I work a hard job. Why is everything still so expensive for me? Why does $100 get me half a bag of groceries in New York City? You have to spend hundreds of dollars a month. Takeout has become cheaper than purchasing groceries. Like, it's gotten so out of just control. And this is just another leg of that, trying to gaslight us. Oh, they didn't know. They were tricked. No, we know that they knew, because there's no way, as you said, there's no way to not know. It's everywhere around you. It's the gas prices. It's buying anything, shipping prices, things on Amazon. I just went skiing. I bought these ski pants that I had bought a year before, literally this time last year, $44. This year, $84.
Oh my gosh.
Doubled in price in a year, but we're being told it's the best economy in modern history. Joe Biden is literally our king. Everybody kiss his feet.
Yeah, the price increase that the average person saw. I mean, so I'm gonna band it that we go on tour and like we'll go ahead and rent a bus and we have crew. We did a tour in 2022 and it cost X amount of dollars, and we did a tour roughly the same amount of time, and the cost of the bus was almost double. Because of gas, when it comes to get like gas, the cost of renting hotels for your bus driver, the cost for the actual bus drivers, it is incredibly hard for bands to go out and actually make a good living when you've got so much overhead. We're a pretty well established band. We go out, we make good money and stuff. But still, it's like when you go out for in 2022, we had guarantees of X amount of dollars, and we had guarantees on the most recent tour that were better than the last one, and we still came home with about the same amount of money.
And then they tell you, just make more money.
Yeah.
Just make more money.
But the thing is, when it comes to a band like us, it's like there's only so much money that you want to charge tickets. You know, it's like people have to come to the shows, and when you've got your tickets are $30 or $40, and then there's Ticketmaster fees, and parking's $20, and then if people are there, if you got more than one person going, like a dude goes with his girlfriend or whatever, you got 2 tickets, and then a couple beers are going to cost you, you know, I don't know, $7 each, $8. I mean, depending on where. I mean, in New York, it's going to be $12,
like $20 at Yankee Stadium minimum.
You know, but the thing is, like, that stuff adds up, and it's like, look, man, when you're playing heavy metal, you're playing to blue collar people, and when you're competing with staying home and watching Netflix, you know, or staying home and playing Xbox, or just scrolling on TikTok, like, it's real hard to get people out if your prices are too high. So it's super competitive anyways, or the overhead's super high anyways, and then when you've got thrown all the things that the average concert goer has to pay for, it's really hard to convince people to come out. You have to have a really good reason to get people off the couch. So
it's like that guy who sang Old Men, Richmond, north of Richmond, that song that went super viral. Oliver. He came out, he's like, I want to have super cheap tickets, I don't want anybody to have to pay so much. And then all of the concert venues were like, we are not, like, we cannot afford to have this. We will lose money if we have you at this ticket price. And he had like a whole thing, the system's broken, but it's just how it works nowadays. There's such high overhead costs.
Right. You know, with all due respect to that guy, I don't know, did he quit or something?
I don't know what happened to him.
But there's a lot of people who are very naive.
Yeah.
And I was one of them getting into the industry. I say that Allison and I, not a day goes by, we don't look at each other and go, oh, so that's why corporations do that. So my response to all of you guys, when you're mad at your company for having some wacky policy, it's the government. You know, companies will take the path of least resistance. They don't care. And so that means when you have a weird HR policy and they're like, we got to watch these weird harassment videos, the company doesn't want to pay for that. I guarantee you they don't want to pay for it, but they have to because of government regulation. Because if they don't do it, then they're open to liability, then the insurance companies drop them, and it's because of government requirements typically.
In addition to what you were saying about the Democratic Party being the party of the wealthy and them sending their servants to shop, maybe their bill went up $100, but they don't really know why exactly, just whatever. I think there's this phenomenon of cognitive dissonance in the plebs, in the people that aren't the wealthy, the people that are making $50,000, $40,000, $30,000 a year, whatever. They're told one thing on TV, and they're unable to break that spell. They're stuck believing what they were told the first time. Like, it's easier to some people say, like, it's easier to, like, the first thing you hear, it's harder to disbelieve a lie. And there's a way of expressing it. But like, once you've heard it before someone else has come and told you the opposite, it's like you've ingrained it. And so they're just like, but the TV said that the economy's fine.
It breaks their reality.
Yeah.
That's a lot of it. Like, admitting that Trump's doing good, it breaks their idea that he's this racist, fascist, horrible Nazi figure. Like, they can't acknowledge it because it will destroy everything. This is their identity for them. This isn't for us. Like, we all have our beliefs, and then we have a bunch of other things that we care about and we're passionate about, like skateboarding and acting and music. Like, we all have so much more to politics, but these people, their entire life, identity, sense of self-worth relies on being considered on the right side of history, good, moral codes.
That's a really great point, because a lot of these people consider themselves activists.
Yeah.
And they think of themselves as activists. So they don't stop doing this, right? Like, it's the way
all
that they
day
live.
long.
So, and that's one of the things that conservatives generally, that's why the conservatives are generally behind the 8 ball, because conservatives are out doing things in the real world that are not associated with politics or winning the next election or whatever. If your entire self-image is based on the fact that you consider yourself an activist, that means that for recreation, you're going to do this kind of stuff.
There's a reason why they say that, you know, once you start running a business, you become conservative. Once you get your first paycheck, you know, you're a young progressive idealist. I describe it like this. There's ways to draw distinctions between the left and the right. And there's many different ways. One of them is a point I made last week. I went to there's a local car dealership, and I was talking to one of the sales guys, and we were talking business stuff, and I asked like, how much revenue do you guys do per month at one dealership? And he goes, oh, just over $1 million. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I run a business. I know what that means. That means that they've got to pay each porter. They got to pay each salesperson. The salesperson's going to get a commission. They have to. So $1 million. What's their margin though? 5%, meaning basically all the money comes in goes right out to sustain and support and cater to the infrastructure. But I guarantee you, if you go to a leftist activist and said, did you know that every month that car dealership makes $1 million? Then they'll go, $1 million? That's wrong. The government should take it. Nobody should make that much money. And you're like, they're paying for electricity. They're paying for plumbing. They're paying for their merchandise. They're paying for their, which is the vehicles. They're paying their staff. They're paying the people who clean. These young liberal leftists, like I guarantee you, if you talk to like David Hogg, he would not know these things. He'd be like, huh?
It's altruism. That's what I think it comes down to. It's individualism versus altruism. They believe we have a responsibility for each other. A lot of this was popularized during COVID. Like, it's my job to make sure that you're healthy. No, it's not. It's my job to make sure I'm healthy. Your health is your problem. It's not my job. And I think that's just so deeply ingrained in a lot of these fellow Gen Z folks.
I would not call them altruistic.
They think they're being altruistic.
Yes.
They're actually being communists.
Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly it.
Big problem with our education system, from my perspective, of public schooling in the 90s, early 2000s, 90s, 80s and 90s. They don't teach anything about how to run a business. They don't even scratch that surface on purpose, because they want to make good little soldier boys that'll go raise their hand and wait to be called on and then get hired at some job for the corporate elite that want the people to follow this Prussian school of education. And I didn't know how to write a check. I got to college and I didn't know how to write a check. I'd never been told. No one ever mentioned it to me. And I had to pay my first rent. I was like, where do I draw on this? What do I write? Where? Someone had to show me. I'm like, I was
shown. They showed us how to write checks and
Really? I didn't. I had to call my mom. I was like, where do I put my name?
I'm effing old though. All right, I'm an old guy.
You're 2000, baby.
By the mid 80s, they'd stopped all that stuff.
2000.
And so
No. By the mid 80s, they didn't.
Well, I was in
Stopped
elementary.
script for me in third grade. They're like, you guys are too dumb. We're not going to even try anymore. They gave up on the American education system.
I mean, I graduated in 2000. Well, okay, so in the 80s and early 90s, the education system was totally inundated with Marxists. So that might be true. But like, I grew up in the 80s and I graduated in 1993, and I learned how to fill out a check, and how to balance a checkbook and stuff like that.
Did you get much more
balance
business?
a checkbook?
Yeah.
It's wild because that doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't. I mean, you don't have to, because you can look on your phone and it'll tell you
You can also Zelle
real
people.
time how much money you
Yeah,
have.
and we use our cards.
all
We
your
don't
ins
use-
and outs.
Yeah,
Did you get any other? I graduated in 97, so I'm 4 years behind you. Did you have any business training at all in school, public school? You did public school?
Yeah, no, but my father owned a business, so I picked up a little bit of that stuff from him, and I kind of always thought about doing my own thing. I was not kind of the dude that was like, I'm going to go to college and blah blah blah. I was playing guitar when I was 14, and so I wanted to be in a band.
Easy to come out of school screaming workers' rights, give me a percentage of your company, when you have no training in how companies need to run. So I think we'll have a lot less of that communist, and maybe that's on purpose, is the organizations that are running. Are they upending the Department of Education? Is it about to get turned off?
Wait, what department? What department?
Education.
I don't even.
No
I
such
don't even
department
know.
exists.
Yeah, I don't think that's ever.
No longer?
That's what Elon said.
It would be nice.
What did he say?
It's like
There's
the
no
Gulf
such
of
department.
Mexico.
Yeah.
Nothing but a memory.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Did you guys see that press conference where resting Joker face Caitlin Collins asked about retaliation against journalists for defying Trump or whatever? And Carolyn Levitt's just like, going into the Oval Office to ask the president a question is a privilege by invitation. We don't have to invite you. And it was really funny because she's like, the Secretary of the Interior has updated the name to the Gulf of America. Apple and Google and literally every other news outlet here is referring to the Gulf of America. It's done. Why isn't the AP? And then Caitlin Collins is just, so you're basically saying you're retaliating against journalists because they're not doing what you're saying? And it's just like, resting Joker face, please calm down. Your questions are bad.
Also, the AP was in Gaza on October 7th. So I think there's a lot of reasons why the AP is horrible. But overall,
part of Hamas?
Yeah, that's definitely a big one.
Well, to
UNRWA,
to
Hamas,
clarify,
who knows?
I believe it was an individual who was a contractor for the AP.
Yes, and they
It's a big
published
company.
that photo very happily. It won Photo of the Year.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who owns it?
Let's,
I want to look at the stock portfolio of AP.
AP, I believe, is a nonprofit.
But who owns that?
I don't know that it has. I think it's like a board. But look into it. Maybe I'm wrong. Let's jump to the story from today. Elon Musk's son makes high-profile visit to the Oval Office. His mom, Grimes, isn't pleased. He should not be in public like this, Grimes wrote on X. There's a video going viral, a couple of them actually, and I do want to point out, poor little X. He's living his best life, but here in this, the still image they've chosen for today, it's little X picking his nose. He was getting in there. He was getting in there.
Stop bullying the children.
I must confess, I myself often do too.
You got to get something out,
sometimes you got to get it. And I respect Lil X for having the balls to be like, hey, I'm going to pick my nose on TV in the Oval Office. I'm kidding, by the way. He's a little kid. Little kids can do what they want. Maybe it's fair to say that Elon shouldn't be bringing his kid around in public like this.
No, I disagree.
I disagree about that too. And also the fact that the kid is not trying to take all of his clothes off, like that's a win. Like little kids love to rip their clothes off and do crazy stuff.
Elon asked him to be calm, and he calmed down. He's very well behaved.
Here's the real story that's going viral. There's two videos. One in which we got these liberals posting this. Jim Stewartson, anti-fascist. Oh, really? I love
God, he's the worst.
The Ukrainian flag. He says, MAGA Q folks, sincere question for you. When XAI Musk says, you're not the president and you need to go away, where do you think he got that idea? Well, let me play the video for you, and we'll see if we can make out what he's saying.
To restore democracy. This may seem like, well, are we in a democracy?
It really does sound like the young man said, you are not the president and you need to go away. Let's try again.
Restore democracy.
Can't really make out what he's saying. In another video, he also says something like, you need to shush.
Yeah.
What the left are now saying is that he was telling Trump that. However, it doesn't look like he's not looking at Trump.
No,
he's looking past him.
Yeah, there's a reporter off to the right that the X interacts with like 3 times over the course of the 30 or 40 minutes.
And Trump does too. Because I watched the full press conference, and I think Trump insulted the guy too.
X is shushing him at least twice. So the guy probably was talking on his phone. Maybe he was whispering to the guy next to him. But I think Trump
get the
video, it's kind of undetermined.
During the press conference, Trump, I think, insulted the guy.
Also, Jim is a spurg.
The guy who wrote the article?
Jim Stewartson, he's an absolute spurg. He's a complete constantly schizo-posting. So
this guy right here, this is not an article. He's just asking the question.
No,
where do you think I got the idea? The point I'm bringing up is it's an implication that Elon Musk told the kid, I'm the president, and the kid looked at Trump and said, you're not the president and you need to go. When in fact, the kid is clearly talking to the reporter who is to Trump's left, who Trump looks at several times and interacts with. And there's another video, I don't know if they pulled it up, where he says, you need to shush. Once again, talking to a reporter who is bothering them. Clearly, right there, they're both looking at the same guy. This is the world these people live in.
Yeah.
They lie, or they lack the cognitive capabilities to understand in context what was actually going on.
He's schizo-posting. He's a total nutbag.
There's this post, this picture that.
But again, I don't care about the one guy. The point is, this video is going viral among the left in general, and this just happens to be the one thing I posted. Democrats and liberals in general have been sharing this video, claiming that Lil X told Trump he's not the president because they live in a paranoid state where they make things up.
The Daily Beast did an article where they said, look how Trump is humiliated. And it just shows a picture of Elon talking and then Trump looking just like listening. Dude, Trump is on the top of the mountain having Elon explain stuff right next to him.
Look at this. It turns out the person that was being yelled at is likely the Today Show journalist, because here you can see, I don't know if is this the right camera angle, but you can see, look at this. I love this angle. Can we just, here we go. We formally debunked it. Look, there's this massive gaggle of press.
Oval Office largely ceded the spotlight to his top.
Blah, blah, blah. We don't care.
That don't get what they voted.
Others in front of
people.
Plans discuss
It doesn't change.
Anyway, if we jump back to the beginning, you can see all of the journalists, and the kid is looking at this. I think he was yelling at the Today Show.
Could be. But I mean, you're right. It is typical of the left to look for those kind of things. Anything that they can say is, hey, this is something that's bad for Trump and now consequently because of Musk's position in the administration for Elon Musk, they're going to do it. It's along the same lines as the very fine people the very fine people hoax. It's the same kind of impulse. If we can cast these people in a bad light, it doesn't matter if we're telling the truth, if we're representing what actually was going on in the room. If we can make these people look bad, we're going to make them look bad, because the legacy media is pure propaganda.
We should show this picture if you can pull it up, Tim. It's on Twitter. It shows JFK, John F. Kennedy, working at the desk, and then there's a kid.
Well, you got to tell me how to find it.
Okay, it's posted by a guy. It's on my Twitter page. You'll find it. It's like 10 posts down.
Put it in the Slack.
It's from. I can actually literally put it in the Slack too. Yeah, I'll do that while you're looking.
I'll just pull it up.
Cool, and it's beautiful. It's really like, talk about propaganda that is good propaganda. Like,
oh, I see.
It's just it's a gorgeous. That's gorgeous imagery. Look,
well,
like bringing youth into the White House when you're doing work, like legitimate work.
The point is, like, we've talked about, or at least I've talked about multiple times on the show, is we need to focus and center the family as opposed to centering the margins, right? That's a phrase that the left uses all the time. We're going to center the marginalized. We're going to focus on the marginalized, and we're not going to focus on the essentially what is normal, right? And that is something that is absolutely horrible for the country. If you want a country that wants to have more babies and wants to have more families, which produce the country that we want, then focus on that stuff. This picture of X in the White House is great. It's great when Donald Trump has his granddaughter and is hanging out with his granddaughter playing golf. That kind of stuff is great. Shows good, wholesome family stuff. We shouldn't have trans people on the White House lawn taking their tits out. We should have stuff like this. And that's exactly what we got.
That's why Trump won.
Yes, absolutely.
So I hear this more than anything. The commercial where it says Kamala's for they, them, and Trump is for us or for you. I hear people say all the time, they're like, that was powerful. I talked to someone who said that they were a moderate, didn't really care to vote. That really moved them. Because people were sick and tired of, as Phil described it, centering the margins. Mm-hmm. I think now, too, with Taylor Swift getting booed, here's another story that I know most people probably don't care about. I probably like to talk about it, though. Captain America Brave New World Thursday previews will be out tomorrow. It's the new Marvel movie starring Anthony Mackie, where he takes up the mantle of Captain America. Captain America, of course, was Chris Evans, a white man. He retires, gets old, travels through time, whatever. And then he hands his shield off to Falcon, Anthony Mackie, and Bucky Barnes. After they did that show, what is it? Falcon and the Winter Soldier or whatever. Mm-hmm. Anthony Mackie, Falcon, now is Captain America, and he's got a cool new suit. They release a trailer 2 days ago. They also released a trailer for Thunderbolts, which isn't coming out till May. Thunderbolts trailer got 10 million. Captain America Brave New World got 500,000. Miserable. How could it be so low? Well, I think it may have something to do with Anthony Mackie saying that Captain America doesn't, he represents honor, integrity, and not necessarily America, or whatever his quote was. Yeah, he was doing a press tour, and he says, I don't think Captain America really represents America, or something to that effect. And it caused a backlash, massive complaints. And I think there's a lot of people who are like, I'm not seeing that movie. So they dropped 2 trailers. I think it was during the Super Bowl. And we were watching the Super Bowl, and the Thunderbolts trailer comes out. And I can't remember who said it, but they were like, isn't it kind of weird they're doing a trailer for a movie that's coming out in May when they have a movie literally coming out on Friday? And I was like, that is interesting. I don't think the sole reason why the movie is expecting to bomb and getting mixed reviews or whatever is because Anthony Mackie said this about America. But I do think there are a lot of people who are just like, I am sick and tired of you telling me we're bad. So when Anthony Mackie, I like the guy. I don't know him personally. I think, I like the MCU stuff. I think he was trying to play the game he thought he was supposed to play, where I have to pander and say America's bad and Captain America is fascist or whatever. And it backfired and blew up in his face.
Yeah, the literal quote, it's a long statement he was talking, but it starts off, Captain America represents a lot of different things, and I don't think the term America should be one of those representations. That was his starting sentence.
There was calls for a boycott. Don't go see the film. He came out and basically tried apologizing twice. And I think then we see the trailers drop, and it's like, they've totally just dropped this film.
What did they?
Yeah, they're not doing commercials for it. They're really ignoring it. The trailer that they put up got a comparable view to a random clip from a Spider-Man cartoon. And it's like, wow, dude. But Thunderbolts did fine. Thunderbolts got 10 million.
What is Thunderbolts, by the way?
It's basically a bunch. It's a Marvel version of just like ragtag, has-been, and sideshow superheroes who join forces to fight a bad guy or something. It's like the crummy Avengers, but it did decently well in the trailer, and people are excited for it. But look, man, if you're going to come out and badmouth America, don't be surprised when people don't want to see your movie.
Yep.
Yeah. Gee.
Yeah,
We're tired of it. We're tired of it.
I wanted to add this about the Elon Musk stuff. I just don't understand why the left thought that this was a dunk to post that clip of like X saying, "Oh, you're not the president." They said Trump wasn't the president for 4 years straight. And when there was an actual sitting president, they got rid of him and replaced him with Kamala. And it's just so crazy. And this is what you're talking in the beginning, that they've gone or this is actually with Elon Musk on, if you look at X, if you look on TikTok, there's all these videos of him in the Oval Office, and all the comments from all the liberals are like, wow, imagine a woman brought her child to work. That's disgusting. Like, imagine this was a woman and her kid. You would all attack her. No, it's only you saying that. And like, they've gone so against the right that they ended up on the alt-right of like, actually, women should not be allowed to have their kids come to work and they should be in the office. It's just gone, it's not even alt-right. It's just extremism and control. And it's crazy how something so simple like family and a father and a son duo makes them irate, and it causes a whole spur of things.
That's kind of what it's a duo. Like, it's not like Elon couldn't afford daycare, so he had to bring his kid to work. They're a duo.
Literally.
He's teaching him. This is X's school. He's learning on the fly.
I wish I could have gone to
when
the office.
He was at, I can't remember where he was, the Capitol, and he had X with it, little X. And then the media wrote like he was seen with like a child or whatever. And they were confused as to why this was. And they put up this tweet that got roasted because people were like, yo, that's his kid. And they were like, oh, and
they're like, a parent actually parents their child. Shocking. We thought the government was doing all of this.
You know what I'm really worried about? I am actually worried about a generation of childless individuals, because I feel like they're almost not individually. There's a lot of people I know who don't have kids, totally fine. But I feel like in these big urban centers, when you have these elder millennials, we'll call them, they have no family, they have no kids. And again, it's not just about that. It's about their separation from moral tradition. They prioritize very weird things and very dangerous things, and things that, I'll put it this way. As Dennis Prager referred to it as, I believe, cut stem politics or whatever he said.
Cut flower politics.
Cut flower, as that was?
Something like that.
He was saying that you have this beautiful flower growing, you cut it, you hold it up in the air, and it looks beautiful for everybody, but you know that without its roots, it's going to die. It's a brilliant idea. In that regard, I forgot what I was going to say. I totally lost my train of thought.
Families that we no longer have children because people are preoccupied.
What I'm basically saying is, in that concept of separating from your roots, what we have with the right today is a movement saying, let's all start planting trees. And on the left, you have a movement of people saying, chop as many as you can down, because then we can do cool stuff with it.
We can build houses for the future children that we're not having.
That's not what they're saying. They're saying, chop it down so I can use the fuel today.
This is
You've
a big
got
problem.
two factions. One saying, burn it, chop it down so I can have fuel for myself. Another generation saying, plant as many as we can so our kids will live better lives.
And they're also like, there's another part on the left that's like, you're selfish if you don't chop a tree down. That's actually selfish, that you wouldn't cut these trees down.
How dare you have kids?
It's a big problem in Gen Z specifically. I'll just speak for my own generation. I obviously have a lot of friends who are like, you could say it's counterculture, but I think it's just culture now. They already have children, 24 years old, they're married. It's amazing. But there's also a lot of people my age, not necessarily in my circle, but they're really scared for a lot of different reasons. Economically, like they just don't know what world we're going to have. If Joe Biden would have won, I would have been scared to bring kids into this world.
Are those people like people that you would say you align with politically?
No, absolutely not. No, I am so excited to become a mother one day. I want to have as many children as I can financially and physically have, and then a ton of cats and dogs and horses. I want the whole picket fence, everything about that. I think having kids is the biggest blessing in the whole wide world. And I think when you talk about chopping down roots, it's different because it's not putting any down. And I think people just have so much instant gratification in the 21st century. If you're not feeling good, you could scroll on TikTok, you could watch Netflix, you can buy a movie on your phone, order something on Amazon. There's so many replacements for what used to be having kids, having meaning. And I think what all of this comes down to is just a lack of religion. And when that's taken out of society or taken out of people's life, they're constantly looking for things to fulfill that void.
Yep.
And children is a huge part of religion, especially in Judaism.
Communication and God, like that whole arena, it will take you away from the distraction. It got me to stopped playing video games for 2 years of my life when I was just obsessed with communicating about what Jesus was talking about. Like I wanted to carry the torch. That is like, that's a big inspiration, man. I guess that's religion. I never really thought of it as religion, just more about a lot of the ideas within some of these Judeo-Christian religions that I was so familiar with.
Yeah.
But it's more about the communication. Like
but it's having it be a part of your life as opposed to when there's nothing there. I don't think you feel a need to have kids. I think that's separate from the concerns that people have, because my generation, we don't know what the future is going to look like. Thank God we have Trump, because I would have you can't really homeschool Jewish wise. Like it's just I'm sure you could, but it's very difficult to homeschool yeshiva. And I was not going to be sending my children to learn that it's normal to be transgender in kindergarten and cut off your body.
What's yeshiva?
No. Yeshiva is Jewish school. So you learn in Hebrew and English, you learn the Talmud, the Tanakh, all the things that everybody on X claims to be experts on. You learn those over about 13 years. And yeah, it's just like a Christian school, but for Jews.
CCD, we called it.
Oh, I remember CCD.
What does that stand for?
I don't even remember.
Yeah. It starts for charge coupled device.
Go deeper.
It was also called catechism.
We're bringing God and science
is that
together.
A pager? Beep, beep.
Confraternity of Christian doctrine. But no one ever said that when we were kids.
No.
And, to be honest, we always kind of felt bad for the kids who had to go to CCD because it meant they were in school on the weekends.
We had school till 5 p.m. every single day, 8 a.m. till 5:30.
Saturday and Sunday also?
No, that's Shabbat.
Oh, okay.
Friday, Saturday, you're off.
Yeah, this country has lost its family tradition.
Yeah.
And we used to, way back in the day, gather at the churches. That's where we would center our culture. People would talk to each other and get this is imagine this. Small village, guy's a blacksmith, another guy's a farmer, one guy's a baker, and they all mind their own business. Watch The Patriot with Mel Gibson. I love that movie. Because there's a scene where they're like, mail came, and they're all excited. And they're like, oh boy, can we go to town? Most of your life was just spent on your property, on your farm. Man, that sounds real fun, doesn't it? Waking up, just taking care of the animals, nice summer nights, little fire going, and having food with the family.
Then Gandalf rolls into town, smoking out all the hobbits.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, that's
but then
my fantasy.
What happens is you rarely would go to town. They would go to church on Sunday. They would all meet once a week, and that's where people talked and shared ideas, and that was the hub of culture. It's gone. Now it's just people in
online.
It's not.
So much online communication.
No, it's not.
I used to be obsessed with it. I was like, the future is online,
right. And it's not, because there's this really funny meme where someone wrote, 1990, guy wants to bang a toaster, gets smacked upside the head and says, knock it off. 2024, guy wants to bang a toaster, goes online, finds 1,000 other people, builds a community, and now he has some weird crackpot, mental disorder.
Oh, it was sort of like your local community is like an immune system, a psychological immune system that'll stop you from
Town square.
It's not about an immune system.
Veering
it's
off
about
into wild, weird ideas with other
people.
No. Checks and balances.
It's about you meet with someone, and he says, "I believe there is a blight coming," and you go, "Wow, thanks for letting me know. We'll have to burn some of our fields if we spot it. Thanks for the upfront warning." The ideas, the conversations, and the things you cared about were centered around your community. They say that a human is the summation of the 5 people who surround them. Well, you are correct in that it's all online now, but it's not community building. It's people choosing to associate with their worst volitions.
Wow, that's deep, because your community isn't always people you've chosen.
Exactly. Sometimes people you don't like. And so in a community, when you're going to church, oh, there's Edna. She's always yelling at us. Nobody likes her. And that's a part of the interactions you have, learning how to deal with this. Now millennials are growing up going, someone said a mean word to me, they should go to jail.
Or they're like, I just remove myself when something doesn't go well. I think that's another way of avoiding things. Those people I'm just so removed from drama. If anything doesn't go my way, I'm going to walk away. No, conflict resolution and conflict management is an important part of being an adult in every single aspect of your life. And this I want to walk away. I said, stop talking to me. You have to stop talking to me because I said so. People are just generation soft serve. That's what I've been calling it.
Generation soft
serve. Conflict resolution is the center of having children. I mean, that children are a nexus of conflict.
And a partner, like a husband or a wife also.
And I hear they say that 2 people will test each other and see if they can handle conflict before they have babies, to be like, are you going to be able to handle the kids? Because they're going to be a lot crazier than what I'm doing right now.
It's like Taylor Swift with Travis Kelce losing the Super Bowl. It's a real test now. Because he won the last 2 times, so everything was great.
How are they doing, by the way?
We'll find out. This is the first real test in their relationship. Everybody thought he was going to propose, and now They have to see what it's like with him walking out in his little disco suit, pouting, like, oh, we lost Boogie Uggy.
What are they, 3 years in now?
I believe so.
Yeah, the 3-year mark. That's a tough. 7 years is another big one. I always thought 2 years and 7 years were like.
If you're dating somebody for 7 years, you gotta.
Let's call it the 7-year itch. You should be married. You should be married. Definitely.
Yeah. Maybe that's why there's big problems. I don't know if there's always big problems at 7 years.
Well, the 7-year itch is a thing that happens with marriage as well.
Yeah.
Back to talking about this internet stuff. AOC as a politician shouldn't exist.
I agree.
AOC gets about, I think the stats were 98% of her donations come from outside of her own district.
Yeah, representative democracy breaks down with the internet.
It sure does. AOC's community is, I'll describe it like this. Every city has 10, we would call deviant individuals. So a small community, let's say there's 100 people, and 90 of them, they're all slightly different, but 90% of them hardworking, go to church every Sunday. I'm saying like you go back in time. 10 of them were rapscallions. They were bandits. They were ne'er-do-wells. And they had no political power. That's it. Somebody would try and run for office and say, I believe the ne'er-do-wells should have the power. And they'd twirl their mustache. And then the 90% of people would be like, get out of here.
Yep.
Along comes AOC. And she says, I want to rally all the ne'er-do-wells. And she sees 10 of them and she speaks to them in public and they cannot muster enough money to get her elected. She goes online, says, tell all of your friends. All of the nasty, deviant individuals, the people who are lazy, who are Marxist, who are naive, who are dumb, who are jealous, who are vindictive, all pool their resources from outside of her district, send her money to her, where she then uses it against her district.
Yep.
AOC uses that money to hire staff, and it is effectively, I see it no different than if every country of the world donated money to Democrats to get them elected.
So
it's a problem with the town square thing. I think it comes back to that. As a society, we keep running into this. Same with like inappropriate things being posted on X. I don't know if I could use the word on the stream, but we all know what I'm talking about. If we saw that in real life, if there was two people doing inappropriate things in public, we'd go up and be like, hey, you're going to jail. There's children around here.
They get arrested instantly.
Yeah, of course, public indecency, all of that stuff. But now, because it's all online, we think that it's better. We think it's replacing everything that used to exist, but we don't have those societal checks and balances. And so people like AOC, who in a real merit-based society would be a nothing sandwich. Nobody would ever talk to her, think about her. She would be absolutely nothing. She's able to escape that and feel so important and so special and become a celebrity in her own right because of the online abilities. And that's a big thing, which I would even make it I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. I have said for the last 2 years, I'm really overwhelmed with the violence in this country. Every news story is about the most violent, horrific acts. Unless it's an active shooting, I don't think that specifically school shootings, unless it's honoring the victims, I don't think shootings in public should be local news stories. I think that if it's in your area, it's something that matters in that neighborhood. It should be important, but broadcasting things in Nebraska, a shooting, what am I in New York going to be able to do about that besides feel horrible, feel paranoid and scared? It's like all coming together and making us, the globalization is creating a lot more anxiety and fear.
So there's two reasons for that, right? First of all, the left wants to see laws passed against firearm ownership. So the idea that if you can convince the population that there is a massive problem with firearms, then you're more likely to get support for legislation, first of all. And second of all, anxiety is something that the left also wants people to experience, because I've said this multiple times on the show. Happy people don't engage in revolutionary activities. If you have a society that's happy, that has hope, that believes in its future, that's comfortable with itself, there's no reason for a revolution, right? But the left wants to see revolutions. The left wants to tear down the society that we live in. It thinks that capitalism is immoral. It thinks that our society is a bad society. We're based on racism. We're based on bigotry. And so because of those things, the more people that the left can convince that we live in a terrible society, in a uniquely awful society, the more people will engage in activities that will help the left get what they want, which is essentially which boils down to power for the left. But the narrative is we want to see a revolution. So it's the twofold: get gun control, and also to get people unhappy enough to engage in political activism.
They want to keep people on that line where they're just as miserable and doomsday enough to be like, the world's going to end, but where they have enough hope where it's like, but if I donate all my money to the DNC, then it won't end. I can fight climate change by donating $15 a month.
Because
it's like a perfect sweet spot of anxiety.
Exactly, because it's about attaining power. If you tell people the truth, like you mentioned climate change, if you tell people the truth about climate change, right? The United States can't fix climate change. If the narrative that the left presents were true, the United States can't do anything about climate change because China and India both together have 3 billion people. The United States has 330 million. There's 10 times the amount of people in China than there are in the United States. So the idea that the Chinese and Indians are going to do what the United States votes for, it's ridiculous. So if their premise is right, the world is going to be destroyed and the seas will boil if we don't do something about climate change. The proper course of action is invade China and invade India and prevent them from growing their economies using fossil fuels because they're destroying the earth. Yeah. That's the logical conclusion that you'd come to. The U.S. isn't going to pass enough laws to do anything about it, and you're not going to be able to kumbaya enough Chinese and Indians to say, okay, we're not gonna have our society develop into a modern economy and a modern society. We're gonna allow millions of people to die every year.
Can I just want to? That's literally the USAID strategy.
Yes,
is like dump as much money to gender studies, and we'll get the Indians start singing "Kumbaya" so they stop burning fuel and polluting everything.
Insane.
A lot of those, when they'll donate 50 million USAID to like gender trans dance festivals or whatever, you're like, what are they trying to promote? It's because they've done research on the uninitiated voters in that country, and there's a large segment of this type of person, which in this instance would be like the trans activists. So they're like, okay, we got to get those people, we got to manipulate them with music so that they'll vote the way we want them to vote. And that's why you get these weird industries that are getting funded. It's because those are the uninitiated voters they're trying to co-opt.
Well, it's cultural poison. You can maybe call it that, or a cultural venom. You inject it into a society and watch the culture create a behavioral sink.
Oh yeah, that's
so the
two-way win for them.
So it was really funny because I asked I can't remember who had on the show, like, how come Trump didn't gut USAID the first time around? And I don't know if it was you, Phil, but someone was like, you really think Mike Pompeo wanted to stop CIA operations? It's actually really simple what they're doing. You go to the average American and say, why are we doing a gender puppet show in Peru or whatever? And they're like, that's nuts. Stop doing that. The CIA, of course, is like, you don't understand. We're poisoning the minds of other nations to suppress and damage them. It's not working. You know, it's been a tremendous failure, but that's what they're doing.
Well, Deborah, you said something interesting I agree with, is that I don't think it's healthy to publicize local tragedies.
Yeah.
And I don't know how not to. I mean, obviously we can do our part by not reporting on it. But sometimes you want, like, if there's a flood and you want global attention.
If it's stuff that can, like, affect change or people can help, like natural disasters, it's a natural disaster. People all over the country want to be able to help. They want to donate. I donated to California, like the wildfires, of course. But when it's man-made tragedies, I think constantly broadcasting that, it gets them clicks. It's the negative news cycle. But it's the same way that, like, Ben Shapiro will never say the name of a school shooter or any kind of public mass shooter. And then these news articles, like the fact that Luigi is a more common name than the actual name of the United Healthcare CEO, is despicable, and it's horrifying. And I hate that culture. I was at a comedy show in New York the other night. The guy made a joke. He's like, it's the year of Luigi. And everyone cheered. I'm like, what the hell is going? A father shot dead in the street in cold blood.
For no reason.
For no reason, by a maniac. And you're going to, we have gone so far away from normalcy, and it's crazy.
If you look at Luigi's, his manifesto and stuff, he was a miserable person.
He was
completely unhappy.
Horrible. And that's why he did what he did, because only evil, miserable people do such horrible, evil acts. Happy people don't kill people.
We are going to go to Super Chat. So if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. And of course, the members only show which is going to be the uncensored call-in show, will be coming up at 10 p.m. on Rumble Premium. So you can go to timcastpremium.com. It'll redirect you right there to sign up so you can get a discount and access. Those that are watching on Rumble, it'll be a seamless transition with a small 30-second or so intermission. And then, of course, the Green Room show is up. And ladies and gentlemen, we actually have a big announcement. Finally, we were trying to do this for some time. I believe we have 2 documentaries that are currently up. Rumble.com/TimPool for premium members only. 2 full-length documentaries, Infringed by John Dutoit and Lauren Southern. It may be a little outdated at this point because it was a couple of years ago. These just went up. We haven't promoted them or anything like that. Premium only, hour and 41 minutes. And then we have Game of Money, Ben Stewart breaking down how money works. It's really interesting. This one's a bit more evergreen, we call it. Evergreen means, if you understand how the money is being used against you, and it's long-standing, it's historical, this one's going to be relevant for a lot longer. I don't mean to disrespect the Lauren Southern's Infringed. It's just that Donald Trump is president now, and he's, had an executive order on Second Amendment, and some things have changed. So that's important to understand. But we are happy to get this out on an easier-to-access platform with much more viewership than just timcast.com. Now, everybody who's a Rumble Premium user, if you're a Mug Club user, a fan, or you were watching Bongino or whatever, now we can get more people to see these documentaries. And we are going to be producing, our goal is to get 8 more in the next 2 years. Every 3 months, have a full-length documentary. Timcast Productions. We're big fans. I used to produce mini docs and some longer series. I think the longest I might have done was like 40. So no, I think I did. We did a 2-hour one about the riots and what was going on in St. Louis and stuff. I think it was close to 2 hours. So I'm a fan of making documentaries. I love doing it, and we're going to make a bunch more. It's going to be epic, and I can't wait to get the next ones out. We're just starting pre-production. We're in the idea phase, but hopefully we'll have those up soon. But for now, let's grab your super chats. All right. Josh McCluskey says, I tried emailing support, been a member since the start, can't ever join Discord. Now I can't watch the after show. I will say, for this week, there's an overlap period where the members only show will be on timcast.com because we want to make sure nobody misses anything and we can handle all of your support emails. There's a lot of people, so I do apologize, but we have a team desperately trying to get everything done, and we don't have like a call center in India or anything like that could handle all of this. It means we have physical human beings here in West Virginia who are trying to answer as many emails as possible, and we're getting through them, so I apologize if we don't get to you soon enough. But if you haven't, if you want to be in the Discord server where you can call in and come to our events that we're planning, it's a community-built thing. It's not an exclusive content thing. Timcast.com Discord is where that membership is. They are separate. And try again now because it should be updated. It should be working.
You should get a call center in a mine. Apparently, that's the thing to do.
I heard about that. That's
in the
mine?
limestone mine.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the name of that?
No.
They get a number 2 pencil to fill out all the people that are actually members.
Apparently, it's like an underground city.
It's like an SAT. It has to only be number 2.
This is where Elon mentioned. This is where, in order for people to resign, they have to send pieces of paper down a limestone mine. And if the mine shaft is out of order, no one can retire. Like literally,
1,000 people a month. That's it.
And there's
the elevator slows it down. Like literally, just the elevator taking a long time.
That's crazy.
Whose idea was this to take a mine and say, let's put people from the government inside of there?
Who decided it was a bad idea to upgrade it? It's been going since the 50s, apparently.
We got this from Torgatron. He says, El Salvador dude commented on judges blocking Trump. Same thing happened there. They impeached the judges and moved forward. Misty Mountains is my new favorite coffee. Graphene no longer my dream. Interesting. We had an interesting idea. I think this was in the Green Room show. Watch our Green Room show on Rumble Premium, where someone recommended making Ian's Graphene Nightmare. High acidity coffee.
The highest acidity of all.
It's just painful to drink.
Yeah.
It's like drinking pure grain alcohol.
That'd be so
I was saying we should expand our lower acidity offerings with blends. But Misty Mountains, of course, castbrew.com. And it looks like we've got some franchises that are up in the works, and they're going to be popping up soon. So it's good, cool stuff happening. And, I'll try to explain as much as I can, whenever I can. The Timcast Discord it's this community of it's 20,000+ individuals, probably more. And it's totally separate from like a premium content house. So Rumble Premium is where all our members only content will be. And there's going to be a lot. We are going nuts. We're going to make documentaries. We're planning a comedy. We had Cast Castle, which was these comedy bits where we mocked what was going on. And those were extremely popular. We actually, it was a large portion of our base on timcast.com, and we just struggled to make that work. We're going to bring back these comedic bits. We're going to involve more personalities. We had one episode of Cast Castle where Dr. Drew was locked in the basement until he starved to death. Shout out to Dr. Drew for being a part of our little comedic bits. And short films. We've got plans for crazy short films, sci-fi stuff. We're going to be producing just a ton of content. So for those that are interested in the community-based growth stuff, where we're going to have the Cast Brew franchising, we're going to have the members-only Culture War show where you come on and actually join the debate with higher-profile personalities, and that's all going to be through our Discord server. Of course, the content will be on Rumble. Nicholas Roberts asks, what's the difference between Rumble versus Timcast Sub? That was basically it. I will stress it's because Timcast membership consisted of two things. You were in the Discord server, chatting with people, interacting, making friends, meeting, starting projects. And that's what a large portion of our focus had been. And then there was the documentaries, the content, the comedy, behind the scenes stuff. Rumble isn't necessarily the same thing as how we're doing our community growth stuff with Cast Brew franchising, on the ground events and things like that. So we basically just had to keep them separate. But anybody who was a member before we launched with Rumble gets Rumble Premium free. You just have to use whatever email you use at timcast.com, use on Rumble, and you'll get it free. There are a lot of people who lapsed their memberships, however, and they've been asking, and I don't have a good answer for you, but I will talk with the team over at Rumble and see what they think, and maybe there's something we do. I don't know that we can do anything, but we just want as many people as possible involved, part of this expansion and this movement. I'll say one more thing. I am a little biased, but with all due respect to Spotify, we do post on Spotify. They only recently launched video streams. Video podcasting has taken over. Trump won the podcast presidency, and Rumble has been there longer than anybody else. This is a fact. YouTube actually banned and suppressed people, myself included, and that's largely what helped Rumble expand as rapidly as they did. If we are now looking at what the future of podcasting is going to be, which is video hosted live and recorded, video on demand shows, Rumble already is on the forefront of that. YouTube is trying to recover what they've already censored and burned down. They're gaining. They have a big platform. Apple is nowhere in sight, and Spotify is trying to get into this game. Rumble's been there the longest time.
Maybe we can read some Rumble rants in the future at some point. I like that.
We are going to when we switch over to the premium. That's right.
Oh, okay, cool.
One of our members suggested that. But we'll grab more of your super chats. X, Y, and Z says, correction, Tim, it's the insurance companies that push the annoying laws. Anytime there's a law that you'll find invasive, insurance is behind it. I would agree with you, actually. But I would say it's, I don't know if I would say it's 50-50 or one is more than the other. Insurance companies do lobby for laws. For instance, why do we have to wear seatbelts when we drive our cars or we get tickets? Insurance companies lobbied for that. They went to the government and said, can we make it illegal to not wear a seatbelt? Because whenever there's an accident and someone gets hurt, we have to pay a ridiculous amount of money. But if everybody was forced to wear a seatbelt, our costs would go way down. Now you have to wear seatbelts. Interestingly, I don't know if you guys have ever seen the viral video from way back in the day when they banned drinking and driving. Have you seen this?
I don't know.
They're interviewing people in cars, and they're like, this is ridiculous. What, I can't have a beer? I'm not impaired. I'm just having a beer. Now they're telling me I can't have a beer. I'm leaving the bar. What am I supposed to do? How am I getting home? This is ridiculous. Is that what? Yeah, he calls it communism.
Well, they didn't have Uber back then, to be fair. It was a different world when you had to get a ride from a friend.
Yeah, they said Uber saved
stuff.
People in LA were like, Charles Manson killed rock and roll, but Uber saved it.
No.
Do you know what the last rock song to hit #1 was? We've talked about it before.
I know, yeah. I sing it.
The last rock song to hit #1 on Billboard. You know what it is, Phil?
Was it Creed?
No,
that
was way too long ago.
That was a while ago.
It was Nickelback.
How you remind me?
Yes,
Nickelback.
That's why I'm saying it so low.
The last time
I wasn't loudly confident like you.
The last time a rock song was #1.
Nickelback is a phenomenal band, and I will fight anyone that says they're not.
I agree. I think that's just common sense.
Yes.
It's this weird propaganda bull crap.
It was Democrat propaganda.
Yeah, it was.
It was progressives making fun of Rahm Emanuel, and a guy held up a sign saying Rahm Emanuel likes Nickelback. And then they all just like NPCs march in lockstep, like, Nickelback is bad.
Yeah, Nickelback rocks.
Listen, who did the bit? Someone did a bit where they were like, it was either Rick and Morty, it was Family Guy. They were like, let's end this once and for all. And they pointed out all the accolades, all of the sales, all of the money Nickelback has made. And it's like, you may not like them, but they are one of the most successful rock bands in history.
Dude, you may say you don't like them, but chances are you
I got
Diamond Records.
I got to be honest. I'm not a fan of Nickelback. However, their rendition of Devil Went Down to Georgia, I'm a big fan of, despite the fact they cut the chorus.
How you remind me, you got to listen to it again. The verse, the pre-chorus, and the chorus are all hooks. It is just grand slam song that is truly epically
Photograph is real bad.
I always see the meme where he's like holding up the photograph and then it just goes on repeat. That's pretty funny.
You're all
right. Let's read some more. Corbin26 says, with China and U.S. AI subverting culture, and with AI making everyday computer programming easier, me and my friend have taken it upon ourselves to make our own video game. We can't let degenerates and commies make our culture.
With AI?
AI is nuts, bro.
Whoa, dude. When you're like, AI, make me a game like Skyrim, but where I'm a dragon and I can fly around and it's in the future. And then 33 minutes later, you've got the game and you're in it.
Faster than that.
Soon.
Wait, if they can make stuff, I was going to say dying. That's not a good word to use. I have been looking for somebody to code for the White House, Trump's press website. Every time they post a new press release, I want somebody to code something that will give us alerts.
There's AI.
Bro. Yeah. AI will do that in 30 seconds. That's super easy.
Like a bot, basically, to keep that. Like every time how do you get AI to send you notifications?
Go to ChatGPT and type in, make me an app for my website that whenever a press release comes out, it will send a notification to me. And it'll go, okay.
But then what do you take the code for?
It'll tell you what to do.
Yeah,
you can literally go on. I would suggest Grok.
Wow.
I don't know if Grok can do it.
You don't need to learn to code anymore.
No, I literally studied code in college. We would code all the political.
That was a waste of
time. All the studies that you see, the polls. I would physically code those for what?
We are. Someone already. There's a video where someone went on GPT and said, program a game of Snake where two snakes compete against each other, and it wrote the program. So last year, they were like, hey, you can use ChatGPT and these large language models to program. And they were kind of crummy. It is progressing so insanely quickly. It's terrifying. We are probably a year or two away from being able to say, you voice to text. You just say, you press the side button on your phone and say, render me an episode, a TV show about Spider-Man and Ian being best friends and then going to Vegas and winning a jackpot. And then it'll go rendering and the thing will render. And then it'll make the film.
There's a travel channel on YouTube that uses my voice, AI voice. It
uses you?
Yeah, that's what people keep messaging it to me, and they're like, they're using your voice, Ian, and it does sound like me. It's not 100%, but I'm like, damn, that does sound like me.
You can do computer-aided machining now. So if you have an AI, you can just tell it what you need it to machine. Cut these particular dimensions off this, blah, 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 drill holes in these positions, and it will do it all for you. The people don't realize how far AI has progressed in the past year, and what's going to happen in the next year is going to be insane. We've been talking about this a little bit on the show, but coming in the next year or two, you're going to have androids for sale around $20,000 that are actually able to do things like go do my laundry, and it will go into your room, pick up your laundry.
Like the robot, like the Tesla robot. Yeah.
And the point that the really, really important point that people need to understand is when it's like $20,000, that's like a car. That's $500, $600, $700 a month. And people will say, I will pay $600 a month for 72 months to not have to do my laundry and not have to go and do this and do that. The robotic, the AI, the robots are already here. There's already that technology. The AI put inside of it, that's going to change the whole game because everyone's going to want one. The more they produce, the cost of production goes down. It's going to change the world.
Let's grab some more. We have this is important. Rionan says, Tim, you should go organic with your coffee. I'm going to pause you right there. It is organic.
It is.
There are certain like flavored ones that we do that they're not organic because they have flavors in them. Nothing you can do about it. So like the Mr. Bokus Pumpkin Spice Experience. Well, the coffee, you're drinking it.
It's not organic.
It is not
I'm
because
gonna pass away.
Well, it's because it's flavored.
Yeah, no,
and so
it's
there's
delicious.
But all the other stuff is organic.
Organic.
I'm not sure about Ian's graphene dream, but I'm pretty sure
it's organic.
It's
it says organic on the bag. Yeah,
and it is because it's a certification process. It takes a long time. So it is. And he says it's one of the worst food and drink for pesticides, and you can afford it. Surprise, Ian has never mentioned it. It's organic on the bag. All the bags.
Yeah.
If it's not on there, it's usually like a flavored one. Semper Ives says, having trouble signing into Rumble with my Timcast login and pass. Looks like I still have to pay when making an account. Can you make a guide? Let's go. What you do is, using the same email that you used for Timcast, create a free account on Rumble, and it will be premium.
You know,
That's simple.
I had an issue because I have the same email address on both websites, and I went to Rumble and it said you must be a premium member.
Then we're going to have support fix it for you. I mean, it's not perfect. The overwhelming majority of people have had no problem. It's been seamless, but
maybe we can figure out why it didn't work, and that way we can fix a bunch of them at once.
Yeah. And so if you are having issues, I do apologize.
It's the deep state. They're trying to take you down.
Probably. Yeah.
So Leah Antok says, what if I already have a Rumble account? I haven't seen the premium with my Timcast account. So if you're not using the same email, that's what it really is. So the email that you log into Timcast with, create a free account on Rumble with that email, and it will give you premium for free so long as you remain a member of Timcast.com. And moving forward, I know it's kind of confusing, but Timcast.com membership is largely just community events and Discord server, and all of our exclusive content is on Rumble Premium. I know it's kind of weird, but there was no, one of the challenges we had when having these conversations is we will never shut down the Discord. And if anything happens, we're going to create a new community for people to gather. We are setting up these coffee franchise locations because we want people to be able to meet in real life. We are doing the Culture War, where the Culture War show, we're setting it up right now, and hopefully we get one in the next month, maybe 2. I got to be honest, guys, I got a baby on the way, and so I might disappear for a week or so. But we're hoping maybe by April, we will have the very first Culture War as we've envisioned it the whole time, which is we book a guest. Let's say we get, Cenk Uygur. He says, I'm going to come and I'm going to debate Ian and Phil on religion. Members, if you're a member, you can come to the event. There's no public ticket sales. It's going to be, if you're a member, you can RSVP, and it's not going to cost you a dime. There's going to be limited seating. When you show up, you can submit your argument. Then our, MC host will go through it, and then we are going to bring up every 10 or so minutes another individual to come and sit down with us and be a part of the debate. Some of it will be ridiculous and terrible. Some of it will be brilliant. And what we want to do with this is, for one, we want to get everyone involved and make it more like, we don't want it to be super elitist where it's like only the famous personalities are ever doing these things. There's a diamond in the rough out there somewhere. So we want to give everybody a chance to be a part of the conversation. But we also know, because we were having this conversation, we're like, there's a lot of people out there that are probably extremely intelligent and talented and have just never gotten into the fray and had these debates. So we fully expect that periodically when we do these shows, there are going to be people who have their big break when they come on, engage in this debate and absolutely roast everybody. And then the clip goes viral and they're like, dude, did you see this guy roast Tim Pool? Wow. Liberal, conservative, don't care. Typically what happens is you have a handful of prominent, quick-witted personalities. That doesn't mean these people are all correct. So we were like, we need to make this a communal thing, get more people involved. They'll bring their friends. We will expand this sphere of influence outside of the mainstream corporate establishment. It's win-win-win for everybody. So that's the Timcast Discord community. And then, I'm really excited for it. Let's grab a couple more here. All right. I can't read your name because it appears to be in Chinese. Or is that Japanese? I think it's Chinese. You need to make a series where it's an alternate timeline and Ian sells enough coffee to go to college. Then he sits through the STEM classes. Instead of teaching anything of use, he learns DEI. That's a good one.
That's fine.
Well, my pitch has been on the morning show, and I'm like, go to Cass Brew and buy Ian's Graphene Dream. I'm like, guys, you are buying so much of this coffee, you're putting Ian through college, and he needs it.
And then I become a plantation owner, but I only hire white people to work on the plantation.
Because it's DEI.
Yeah, DEI.
It would be racist.
It would be racist not to at that point.
Well, no, it'd be racist to hire black people.
Of course. Either way, I lose. So
Yep.
Let's just grow that coffee.
Yep. All right. Let's see. Chris says, if you change your email associated with your Rumble account to the one that you use for Timcast, it will work. Oh, really cool. Really cool.
Say that again?
So if you already have a Rumble account and they
Yes.
say change your email to the same one used for Timcast.
Oh, that's probably what happens. You got to go in, update the settings to the same email address, click update, and then it'll refresh in their system. Maybe that's the issue.
Yeah. There you go. Based African says, Tim, what you were describing about the crazy people not connected with their community is the same as the scaling problem you've described before, except with sentient beings who have technology to talk to each other. For those that aren't familiar with the scaling problem, it is quite simple. Let's say Apple releases 100 iPhones with a 1% failure rate and gives them out to 100 celebrities. One celebrity posts on X, my phone broke. Nobody cares. They say, sucks for you, I guess. No one else is having a problem. Let's say they issue 100 million iPhones to everybody and with a 1% failure rate, the exact same margin of error. Now you have 1 million people on social media all posting my phone doesn't work, and it's a trend. Every news article is writing about it, and people are going, what's going on? Why are so many phones breaking? Despite the fact that it's the same margin of error, as the system grows larger, the tolerance for failure grows smaller, and that's the scaling problem.
Yep.
Indeed. Well, we will, I guess we'll grab a couple more super chats while we round things out. What do we have here? Ton Lock Alpha Dog says, where did you get ski pants for $84, let alone $44? I paid $530 for mine, and that was cheap.
I came back at the perfect time. So there's this really crazy company. It's called Amazon, and they deliver in sometimes 24 hours. But I got it on Amazon, but also I was skiing in Utah. It wasn't like I wasn't in Alaska on a trip. You know, I wore the pants that keep you warm under, like the long underwear and stuff. But I can send you the link, but you should have bought it when it was $44.
We Boonies. So we're bringing on a couple of my buddies to work with Booney for Boonies HQ production, and one of the videos we're going to make is that I ordered 1,000 Pop-Tarts.
Oh, dude, I can't.
We're gonna butter them.
Oh God,
we're gonna drench them in butter.
It's got red 6 in it.
Oh, you know it.
Oh,
and
man.
We're gonna eat them.
Oh,
all right,
gross.
everybody. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, share the show with everyone you know. The members-only uncensored call-in show will begin in just a few moments over at rumble.com/Timcast IRL for premium members only. You can follow me personally on X and Instagram at Timcast. Deborah, do you want to shout anything out?
Debra Lea on all social media. And if you join members only, you can find out what's in this cup.
Oh, yeah, people will be interested in that one.
I'm at Ian Cross, and we should use the Pop-Tarts for like skeet shooting. And that's all they should be
They'll
used
explode.
for.
What do you mean?
Exactly, yeah. Blow it up.
No, I mean, as soon as you try and launch it in the air, they'll just
yeah, and they would dirty the soil with their toxic food
and you're gonna
petrochemicals.
eat a Pop-Tart.
No, never, Tim. There's healthier things out
the
there.
people in Peru who now don't have their transgender puppet shows.
Pop-Tarts are delicious.
Yeah.
Fund the machine, I suppose.
They're not as bad as you think. Look at the ingredients. I'm not saying they're
rich
they're,
flour, yellow 40.
No. We'll go look. No.
Some of them are
But there's
hypertension and.
I want rich flour over poor flour.
I do think
that's
people
how they get
often underestimate traditional products. Not that they're the best, healthiest thing for you, like eating an actual whole grain thing, but you'll be surprised sometimes. I'm not here to defend Pop-Tarts.
There's organic Pop-Tarts.
Phil, take it away.
Hello, everybody. My name is Phil Labonte. You can check me out on X at Phil That Remains. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. Our new record dropped on January 31st. It's called Anti-Fragile. You can check it out on Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, Amazon Music, and Deezer. Don't forget the left lane is for crime.
Well, right on. We will see you all in the uncensored call-in show, but don't forget to check out the Green Room on rumble.com as well. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you all in about 30 seconds.